Chapter 666. Natalia actually felt a deep sense of defeat. Liliana laughed at Natalia from the side. You also don't know about it. After sighing helplessly, Natalia said to Avina, Avina, help me try and see if you can get my flag back. Let me try. After chatting for a while, Natalia, it said that you must use something to exchange with it. What? This is clearly mine. Why should I give it something? Just as they were speaking, a metal bough shot out from a tree at the side. Be careful. Natalia was the first to see the bough, and she quickly ran to Liliana's side. Hexapod wings. With a shout, hexapod wings appeared in Natalia's hands. Thump! Natalia slashed at the bough and directly cut it into two from the middle. This trajectory, it's over there. Natalia chased after the direction where the bough and arrow came from. A similarly green and short figure jumped down from the treetop and then ran towards the depths of the forest. Fisk, it's too agile. Natalia wanted to try and chase after the creature that shot the arrow, but the creature's figure was very thin and small, and coupled with the fact that Natalia was unfamiliar with the surrounding terrain, in the end, the creature still managed to escape. Natalia walked back while panting with rage. Avina, are you all right? I'm fine. The direction where the arrow was shot just now. Natalia, Liliana, and Avina couldn't help but look at the goblins at the side. Oh, That goblin hurriedly waved its hand left and right, indicating that it wasn't ordered by it at all. Oh, the goblin walked to Natalia's side somewhat shyly. The goblin raised the small red flag in its hand above the goblin's head. Is this for me? Natalia was a little surprised. Didn't you want to exchange something for it just now? Although she said that, Natalia still happily took her flag back and pinned it to the belt on her lower abdomen. By the way, Liliana, Avina, why haven't I seen your red flags? Oh, this. Liliana, brush her hair back from her ear. Of course. Natalia noticed that the little red flag had been inserted into Liliana's hair like an ornament. Of course, this little red flag had been shrunk by Liliana. In order to satisfy the rule of visibility, Liliana purposely exposed a corner of the little red flag. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't notice it at all. Liliana, what a sinister move. Isn't it against the rules to make it so small? Of course not. I also used my own ability to make it smaller. It was true that Natalia didn't know how to shrink a person. What about you, Avina? Natalia displayed the last vestiges of her stubbornness in full force. Mine is here. Avina pointed at her pocket. For the victory of the 7 schools competition, Avina had specially bought a magic robe with an especially large pocket during the Eve ritual. Natalia took a closer look and discovered that there was indeed a small red corner in the pocket that could even fit a book. In addition, the magic robe was bright red, so it could be said to be perfectly hidden. Am I the only one who foolishly wore a little red flag on my body? Just as Natalia was feeling inferior, the goblin beside her suddenly tugged at Avina's sleeve and gently pulled her to the right. After another round of conversation, Liliana, Natalia, this goblin seems to want us to follow it. Where's it bringing us? It's said to tell us when we arrive. The goblin shouldn't pose any threat to us. Moreover, it's going to be dark soon if we continue to stay here. At that time, it's very likely that we'll be ambushed by other teams. I think it's bringing us back to the tribe. Liliana analyzed calmly. I think so too. Natalia agreed, even though she didn't understand anything. Very soon, the reef island ushered in darkness. Fortunately, the weather here didn't have any abnormal changes on the first day. The only thing worth noting was that the reef island was indeed very cold at night. The goblin shouted loudly and pointed in front. Everyone looked in the direction that the goblin pointed in and discovered that in the humid and hot forest, there was actually a small piece of flat land that had been reclaimed. Although the area of the flat land couldn't be considered big, it was merely a quarter of the size of Gaia Stadium. On the flat land, there were some tents with holes. Inside the tents, fireflies drilled out from the fist-sized holes and slightly illuminated the surroundings. At this moment, many goblins could be seen surrounding a cluster of fire in the center of the flat land to warm themselves. There were tall and sturdy goblins, and there were also old and weak goblins. Jijiji, seemingly having seen the little goblin beside Avina. A goblin with two gray ponytails stood out from the group of goblins and waved his hand towards them. The little goblin also waved his hand in response. Later on, Avina found out that this little goblin was actually the son of this goblin tribe's patriarch. If his name was to be translated into human language, it would be called Wab. Wab briefly explained to the other goblins that Natalia had just saved him. Immediately, they seemed to be saying something like holding a party to welcome the few of them. Hey, Liliana, don't you feel that there is something wrong with these goblins? Indeed, I feel that their intelligence seems to be somewhat different from other goblins. Avina's words awakened the goblin from his dream. That's right. I have seen those goblins that were raised by nobles before. They could only speak a few very simple languages and could only perform some low-level actions. But the three women, sized up their surroundings. These goblins were actually holding torches and laughing while dancing. Inside their tents, there were very crudely made tables and wooden buckets. This was clearly the sign of a budding high-level animal. Although they felt very puzzled by this strange phenomenon, Natalia and the rest could still feel the enthusiasm of these goblins from the bottom of their hearts. This was definitely not something that could be imitated just because one wanted to. Chapter 667. At the party, everyone sang and danced happily together, forgetting that this was the competition stage for the 7 schools. He asked for a map of Reef Island from Wab, which was drawn on deerskin using the ashes left over from burning trees. The handwriting was messy, but one could still barely make out the general outline. The central region of the map was missing, and only a few areas were outlined. It seemed that the goblins didn't dare to enter the central region because it was too dangerous. Occasionally, there would be a few brave ones, but most of them never returned. Those that returned were delirious and had many holes in their bodies. Their current location should be the most southeastern corner of the Reef Island. Many lines were drawn on the beach, and these lines converged into a black circle. This should be the creature that attacked Natalia. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Oh, 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 oh. According to Nawab, a few years ago, when they were fishing, a monster with many tentacles suddenly appeared in the sea, causing great damage to the goblins at the time. Fortunately, the monster could only move around near the beach and could not cause any harm to the creatures on land. Bang, 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 bang. Suddenly, in the midst of the party, a skinny goblin covered in wounds ran out from a corner of the forest. Its fur clothing was stained with blood. Ahoo! It ran towards Wab with great difficulty and finally knelt down in front of him. It seemed like it was a very serious matter. Otherwise, Wab wouldn't be tearing up after hearing it. Goo-goo-goo. Avina, what are they saying? The goblin said that Wab's father, who was the tribe leader, was killed by humans in the forest. What? Natalia and Liliana cried out in alarm. Could it be another contestant? Wab. Natalia put her hand on Wab's shoulder sympathetically. After all, it was because of the 7 schools that Wab's father had passed away. Suddenly, with the back of his hand, Wab struck away the hand on his shoulder. Wab turned around and stared at the 3 women with a terrifying gaze. Natalia, they must have mistaken us for the people who killed his father. Unknowingly, Natalia, Liliana, and Avina were surrounded by the goblins. Natalia and the others had no choice but to stick close to each other. If a fight really broke out, they could at least deal with it. Natalia held the 6 divine wings with both hands. Liliana finished her incantation, and Avina summoned the giant spider corpse. A great battle was about to break out. That goblin. Natalia noticed that the goblin who was kneeling beside Wab revealed a sinister smile. Natalia scrutinized the goblin. This body type. Could it be? At that moment, Wab suddenly raised his right hand high into the air. All the goblins obeyed the order and stopped. Since the patriarch was murdered, as the patriarch's son, Wab naturally took over the patriarch's authority. Wab, 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 wab. Seeing that the situation had calmed down, the injured goblin stood up from the ground and spoke loudly to Wab. Wab, 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 wab. It seemed that they were quarreling. That injured goblin seems to be calling Wab Big Brother. He seems to want to punish us, and Wab is defending us. Avina said, "Hey, Liliana, Avina, do you think this goblin looks like the one who attacked us just now? Now that you mention it, it does look like it." Uh-huh. The argument between Wab and his brother seemed to have stopped. Wab turned around and faced the goblins. Oh, he wants us to take a look at the patriarch's corpse first. Wab's brother brought Wab and his companions to the second ring of the forest. They crossed a river, but the current was gentle, and they crossed it easily. In order not to cause any more misunderstandings, Natalia and her companions followed them. After crossing the river, they walked for a short distance. A goblin's corpse was hanging from the trunk of a large tree. The corpse had been nailed to the tree by a large arrow through the heart. Black blood stained the grass beneath its feet. The corpse was wearing a hat made of twigs and dried grass, but it was tilted by the powerful recoil of the arrow. Wab fell to the ground below the corpse and hugged the corpse's legs with both hands as he cried bitterly. It seemed that this was indeed the corpse of the goblin patriarch. What a cruel method! Natalia glanced at Wab's brother, who had also fallen to the ground below the corpse. Although he was also very sad, Natalia knew very well that he was acting. In terms of acting skills, Ragnar was probably the only one he knew who could compete with Natalia. Her acting skills, developed over many years at the dining table, were not for show. If there was only one drumstick left on a plate, but both Ragnar and Natalia wanted to eat it, then they definitely couldn't directly take it. Instead, they had to pretend that they didn't care, and when the other party was careless, they would immediately snatch the drumstick. Once, Ragnar and Natalia were in a deadlock at the dining table for more than half an hour, and in the end, Albai snatched the drumstick from behind. Speaking of Albai, it had been a long time since she had seen him. Asterisk cough cough, asterisk the topic has gone too far. All in all, Natalia felt that the death of the patriarch was definitely related to Wab's brother. Natalia circled around the tree and was surprised to find that the arrow had also made a hole at the other end of the trunk and went straight through it. To be able to pull such a large bough, it must have required a lot of strength. Although the intelligence of these goblins was above average, in terms of physical fitness, it was impossible for them to shoot an arrow through a tree. At this moment, Natalia suddenly noticed that there was something engraved near the arrow. Natalia leaned over to take a look and involuntarily read out the words on it. Chapter 668. Liliana suddenly heard Natalia's words and followed her to where the arrow was. That's right, it's Reynolds. If I'm not mistaken, Raynor Quinn should be involved in this. That bastard. Natalia couldn't help but swear. Oh, huh? Seeing the reactions of Natalia and Liliana, the sad Wab stood up from the ground and asked. With the death of the patriarch, the burden of the goblin tribe naturally fell on Wab's shoulders. He understood that the most important thing now was not to weep endlessly here, but to find the true murderer of his father. Ivana stepped forward to translate. She told Wab all the information that Natalia had just received. Wab could sense that the three of them weren't lying to him. He roared towards the sky, wiped away the tears in his eyes, and turned to the goblin army behind him as he shouted, "Let's go! Let's go! Wasi!" Wab is saying that he won't let Renault go. Just as Wab was about to lead the goblins to search for Reynolds, Natalia suddenly shouted for them to stop. "Avina, help me with the translation." "All right, although we can't let Reynolds go, we still have a very important matter to attend to." Huff, huff, huff. The goblins shifted their gazes to Natalia. "I have a few questions to ask." Oh. First of all, why is your clan leader here alone? Oh. Secondly, since the tribe leader was killed here, why did only this goblin return? To be able to use such a huge bow, the other party's strength must not be weak. Why would it let a potential threat escape? When Natalia said that, the goblins came to their senses and turned their attention to Schwab's brother. Realizing that the development of the situation wasn't good for him, Schwab's brother quietly moved behind him. "Where are you going?" Natalia's 6 wings slashed and created a sword slash under his feet. Whoa. Wab asked his brother in an inquiring tone. Ha 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 ha. He said that it has nothing to do with him. It's a rumor created by these women. You said it has nothing to do with you. Natalia grabbed Schwab's brother's wrist and flipped it. Speak. What's with the wound on your hand? Oh. Wab looked at his brother's exposed palm. The first joint of his right index finger, middle finger, and thumb had very obvious marks of friction. It said that it was injured when it was running away. Is that so? Natalia took out the bow that she had cut in half from Avina's large pouch. Compared to the huge arrow that pierced through the goblin patriarch, this one was much smaller. The size was just right for a skinny goblin to use it. Natalia forced the two halves of the bow into Schwab's brother's hand. The tail of the arrow corresponded to the scratch marks on his hand. Looking at the simple tools that the goblins had made, Natalia could tell that their intelligence wasn't mature enough. They wouldn't be able to use bows and arrows skillfully. Therefore, in order to become proficient in using bows and arrows, they had to constantly hone their skills. That was how Schwab's brother got the scratch marks. Strange, where did he get the bow? Wahaha! Schwab couldn't believe that this had something to do with his brother. After all, he was his own brother. Oh, the situation was getting worse and worse. At this moment, Schwab's brother seemed to have decided to go all out. He took out a scroll from the animal fur he was wearing. That's... Avina reacted instantly and immediately ordered the goblin to lie on the ground. Bang! A sound of the scroll exploded violently, and the flames engulfed the surrounding trees. Fortunately, Liliana reacted in time and released a water barrier to block most of the damage. It was late at night. The flames lit up a corner of the reef island, and black smoke drifted into the clouds. After the smoke cleared, Schwab rushed to his brother's corpse. Vala was his brother's name. At this moment, Vala's corpse was almost a piece of charcoal. Put him down. Don't move. He's still breathing. Liliana stepped forward to prevent Schwab from further aggravating Vala's injuries. Vala couldn't die. Although he might have done something outrageous, if he died, all the clues would be cut off. Raynor Quinn would definitely not admit to his crimes. He could say that a goblin stole from him. Avina, help me. Okay. Liliana placed Vala flat on the ground and tried her best to increase the contact area between him and the ground. Fresh water to the extreme can prolong one's life. Monstrous waves can swallow all things. Calm waves can also carry boats. The end of the coast hides the hopes of countless people. Set sail again. Warm water ripple. The water elemental magic particles also had healing properties, but they were mainly used to heal internal injuries. The wood elemental magic particles were used to heal external injuries. Transparent, light blue ripples radiated from Liliana's open palms into the air. Every ripple that passed through Vala's body would cause a blue light to flicker. Vala, who had almost no aura, actually started to pant. Although it was very soft, it was definitely there. After a while, Liliana finished casting her magic. Although Vala's internal injuries were almost healed, the severely burned skin had not recovered at all. Liliana's magic was almost depleted. To be honest, it was already very impressive to be able to do this. If it was someone else, Vala might have already died. Schwab saw that his brother's condition had improved. When he was about to reach out and stroke him, he was once again stopped by Liliana. Don't move. His injuries haven't been healed. Avina explained the current situation to Schwab. Thanks to this, Schwab also understood the current problem. Chapter 669. The small fire caused by the explosion caused the surrounding area to be filled with dense fire elemental magic particles. The fire elemental magic particles were very harmful to the patient's wounds, and it also chased away the wood elemental magic particles in the forest, making it very difficult to save Vala. In order to cast a spell, the caster had to have enough magic particles to support the casting of the spell. The fire element mana and the wood element mana clashed. Now that the fire had completely rejected the wood element mana in the surroundings, there was no way to cast a wood element spell. What's more, Liliana's magic was almost exhausted. Natalia knew a little bit of wood magic, but that was limited to beginners. She was not good at healing magic at all. As for Avina, Necromancy magic was more suitable for killing people. Wab seemed to be in a dilemma. Seeing these women trying their best to save his younger brother, it seemed that they had nothing to do with his father's death. Thinking of this, Wab felt a little apologetic for misunderstanding them, but now he couldn't help. Oh, Wab suddenly remembered the emerald necklace hanging around his neck. It was a treasure passed down from generation to generation in the tribe. It was said that it was found in the forest. At that time, the ancestors might have felt the unusual power contained in the necklace, so they kept it. It was passed down to Wab today. Oh, Wab handed the necklace to Liliana and pointed at it, asking if it could be used. This is Liliana, Natalia, and Avina were instantly attracted by the emerald necklace. It was a round gem in the shape of a coiling dragon, about the size of 2 knuckles. A lifelike green dragon god was carved on the edge of the gem. It was so small, but it attracted the attention of the 3 women. The gem was stuck to the back of the gem by a rope made of weeds. Liliana could feel the terrifying magic power emitted from the gem, even without her heterochromatic pupils. Open! Liliana closed her eyes and then opened them again. The color of her pupils changed back to crystal blue and light blue. The heterochromatic pupils gave Liliana the ability to see through and strengthen, allowing her to see through the essence of all things. Liliana could clearly see that the emerald necklace contained a huge amount of wood attribute mana. She had never seen such an amount of wood attribute mana until now. Was this magic power? But being surprised was just being surprised. She didn't think too much about it and quickly took the emerald necklace. With this, it might work. Wab was also very glad that he could help. Just as Liliana lifted the emerald necklace in her hand, she calmed down and used her heterochromatic eye to sense the flow of mana within. Then, Liliana mobilized her remaining mana and poured it into the necklace. Suddenly, as if a switch had been switched on, the emerald began to spew out an endless stream of wood elemental magic particles. Wood elemental magic particles instantly filled the surrounding environment, and the fire was gradually extinguished by the high-pressure environment. Liliana felt her body brimming with energy as she chanted the incantation again. All eyes in the forest are green, and all sounds of disharmony will be eradicated. The winter butterfly flutters, facing the sun. Although it is scorched by the heat, it has no regrets. Let me grant you another life, and once again rush to the place in your heart. Wood healing. The wood elemental magic particles in the surroundings gradually gathered into Wab's body, covering Wab with a thin layer of fluorescent green healing film. For some reason, the wood elemental magic particles emitted from the emerald was exceptionally pure, allowing Wab's injuries to heal twice as fast with half the effort. Seriously, why did it detonate that explosive scroll? It's really pretentious. Natalia ridiculed. After a while, Vala's injuries were more or less healed. There should still be some residual effects. After all, Liliana was just an ordinary student. The destroyed trees would recover soon, and Wab was also ordered to bring Wab back to the tribe to recuperate. Everything would have to wait for Wab to wake up before they could interrogate him. Unfortunately, Wab's father's body was caught in the explosion and turned into black charcoal. Wab's heart was filled with grief as he buried his father's body in the tribe's graveyard. For some reason, there was a saying in the tribe that if one was buried in the graveyard, there would be good luck. For a moment, many creatures living in the outer circle of the reef island fought to find out what was going on here. But this was after all a place where people of the same race were buried. How could outsiders be allowed to come here? So Wab's father used a ghost story to deceive everyone. But it was true. If someone was buried here the day before, then a bright flower would grow in the cracks of his tombstone the next day. It was very strange. 2 days passed, and there were still 5 days until the end of the 7 Schools Leap Festival. Of course, in these 2 days, Natalia and the others still saw 1 or 2 contestants who were alone. It was said that the terrain here was too complicated, and they got separated from their teammates on the way. In a situation where it was 3 against 1, The lone contestants could only helplessly break the small flags on their bodies and be sent back to the city by the purple teleportation magic circle that appeared under their feet. A boy who was ambushed by Natalia said that he didn't know why he couldn't find one of his teammates. His little red flag was still with him, perfectly fine, but he didn't know where it went. According to the boy's words, they should have some kind of detection magic between them. On the displayed map, there was no sign of his teammate at all. It was really strange. Oh, Wab's hat. Finally, on the night of the second day, Wab La, who had been lying in the tent for 2 days, finally woke up. Wab was very happy to see his younger brother wake up. After being questioned, Wab La gradually recalled what he had done in the past few days. Of course, Wab La admitted to everything he had done, including shooting Wab and killing the patriarch. Chapter 670. However, according to him, his body was completely out of his control at that time, as if it was being controlled by something. Don't worry. Tell me what happened slowly. Liliana translated for it. Vala had some impression of these 3 unfamiliar human females. Pitter-patter, la 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 la. It was around noon 2 days ago when I was playing in the forest. Suddenly, a purple circle appeared under my feet. I was so scared that I jumped back. Then, 3 human men appeared from the circle. One of them was a yellow-haired man. He was mumbling something. He grabbed me and took out a black pill from his pocket and fed it to me. After that, I felt dizzy and lost control of my body. I did whatever he told me to do. Beside that scoundrel, there was also a man who could speak all kinds of languages. He got information about our tribe from me and controlled me to use my bow to kill Big Brother. After that, he lured Father out of the tribe and killed him. The more she spoke, the more agitated Vala became. It was as if she felt guilty for causing her father's death. The black pill only had the ability to confuse people's minds and control living things. It did not have the ability to erase memories. Until now, Vala could still remember her father's face before he passed away. A weapon that had never been seen before pierced through the patriarch's heart and nailed it to the tree trunk. Blood gushed out from the wound like an unstoppable spring, splashing onto the grass in a parabola and then exploding. Ooh, Father. Fortunately, they had Avina's help. If not, Natalia and Liliana wouldn't have been able to communicate with the goblins and find out the truth. The 3 women looked at each other and walked to a corner of the flat ground to discuss. I think Vala's words are true. Yeah, I think so too. Ho. You know it based on the acting skills you practiced with Teacher Ragnar at the dinner table. Liliana. Sometimes Liliana really liked to talk back to Natalia. But Reno Quinn, that scoundrel, actually did such a thing. What a scoundrel. Natalia fiercely punched the tree beside her, causing a lot of leaves to fall. But how should I say this? From a certain point of view, it's not incomprehensible for him to do such a thing during the 7-school skipping competition. Natalia couldn't completely criticize Avina's opinion. Indeed, the 7-school competition wasn't a competition to see who had a noble spirit. Only the winner could laugh at everything. Judging from Vala's description, Rainer Quinn must have used Vala to obtain information about the Reef Island. But why did he want to kill the Patriarch and Wab? The 3 women thought for a moment. About that, I of course, Natalia replied weakly. At this time, if she didn't follow the trend, she would seem stupid. Liliana took out the goblin tribe's treasure, the emerald necklace, from her pocket. She had forgotten to return it after saving Vala. Oh, so it's this. It really could be this. I'm guessing that Reno Quinn might have found out from Vala that the goblin tribe had this treasure, so he wanted to snatch it and did this. Then why did he give Vala an explosion scroll? I'm guessing that it's because the pill only lasts for a short period of time, and at the same time, it doesn't have the effect of disrupting thoughts. Vala still has the memories of that time, which is a very good proof. Reno Quinn was afraid that things would be exposed, so he wanted to silence her. Oh. Natalia suddenly understood. Her brain seemed to only work especially fast when she was emotional. I have another question. The arrow that shot the Patriarch had the Reno family's mark on the tail of the arrow, but the arrow that Vala used to kill Wab didn't have the Reno family's mark on the tail. Could it be because of some special reason? I think we should ask Vala herself about this. Oh, she said that she picked up the bow when she was playing at the beach, and that there were many strange things there. So many strange things. Oh, right. This is for you. Liliana handed the emerald necklace back to Wab. This was what Rainer Quinn wanted. To be honest, Liliana and the others also wanted such an important treasure. The magic stored in the emerald was definitely something that even Ragnar would be moved by. However, this thing belonged to someone else, and it had to be returned. Wab stuffed the emerald necklace back into Liliana's hands. She said that this is for you. No, this thing is too precious. I can't accept it. Wab giggled, revealing 2 rows of big white teeth. Roar, roar, roar. Hee hee. She seems to be apologizing to us. She didn't treat us well before and mistook us for the murderers. She also wants to thank us for saving her younger brother, so she wants to give this emerald necklace to us. Liliana still didn't want to accept the emerald, and even the greedy Natalia didn't have any evil thoughts about it at this moment. After all, a man's wealth was his own crime. Natalia and the others understood the value of this emerald very well. Hypothetically, if this emerald was used as a bomb and exploded in the city, then in just a breath's time, millions of people in the city would lose their lives, and the people in the capital of the eastern region would be plunged into misery and suffering. Wab said that in order to protect this emerald, many of the goblins have already died. They don't have the ability to protect it anymore. Indeed, the goblins on Reef Island had sacrificed too much manpower, material resources, and financial resources to protect this emerald that their ancestors had picked up from who knows where. At this point, they really didn't have the ability to protect this emerald. The goblins also knew that this emerald was very important. They could tell from the emerald dragon on it that this emerald was very important. Although they had tried to activate this emerald, there was no reaction. Chapter 671. The goblins didn't know how to use mana and didn't understand the concept of mana. Of course, they couldn't use this treasure. Of course, Liliana and the rest understood this logic, but okay, we'll accept it. Natalia displayed her thick-skinned spirit and accepted the emerald necklace without hesitation. Natalia, Liliana said with a little anger. Yes, but we're accepting it for the goblins' sake. That's true. Thus, Natalia and the rest reluctantly accepted the emerald of unknown origin. Strangely, once the reverse side of the emerald came into contact with something, it would suddenly become still like an ordinary stone. There was nothing strange about it, except that it looked good. This should be the reason why Natalia and the rest didn't sense the emerald when they met Wab for the first time. The reverse side of the emerald was pressed against Wab's neck, and the leakage of wood elemental mana particles completely stopped. Wab and Vala spent a long time together. As for what they did, it was nothing more than chatting about the future and having heart-to-heart talk. That night, the goblins held another grand party. Firstly, it was to celebrate the ascension of the new chief, Wab, and secondly, it was to celebrate their irreconcilable enemy, Rainer Quinn. At the party, Liliana gave the goblins detailed information about Rainer Quinn, and they unanimously expressed that they would hunt him down at all costs. These goblins are really strange. Yeah, Liliana and Avina couldn't help but be influenced by the local customs as they ate the freshly grilled meat skewers in their hands. That's right. I also find it strange. These goblins are so ugly. How can they marry each other? Natalia's unintentional words were instantly met with disdain from Liliana and Avina. Anyway, this should be their last night here. After all, the matter of the 7 schools leap exam was more important. It was impossible for them to stay here like a slug. The forest fire would definitely attract a lot of attention, and this place was already in imminent danger. It was time to move, but I'm still reluctant to leave this place. Avina kept the emerald in her black disc, which could be considered the safest place. It was almost time to sleep. Playing with the goblins at the party had consumed a lot of Natalia and the rest's energy. Speaking of which, they were quite leisurely. There were a total of 80 teams participating in the seven-school jump this time. Other than the special team, the Last Hope, the other teams were desperately trying to find a way to survive. They, on the other hand, were having fun here. Who is it? As soon as the three girls got into the tent, they noticed the existence of two magical powers inside, one of which was particularly unfamiliar. Cough, cough. Give me that thing. The voice was very familiar. Teacher Ragnar. With a snap of his fingers, the tent suddenly became bright. At this time, Ragnar was sitting on a wooden chair in the tent. The wooden chair was quite rough, which was a farewell gift from Wab. This is a bit prickly. Teacher Ragnar. Liliana threw herself into Ragnar's arms, which made Ragnar feel quite embarrassed. In the face of such a beautiful girl's enthusiasm, Ragnar felt a little embarrassed. Huff, huff. Lord Ragnar is really enjoying himself. Sitting next to Ragnar was a tall man. He was as strong as an ox, and there was a trace of heroic spirit between his eyebrows, but he always made people feel that he was very funny. Male, believe it or not, I'll slap you. Male was the fire dragon hiding in the back of the mountain. It was now in human form and following Ragnar. Speaking of which, this dragon was also funny enough. He was actually afraid of his brother's scolding and didn't dare to go home. Fortunately, Ragnar was able to use this to blackmail him. Oh, these are your students. All of them look pretty good, especially halfway through his words. Mel suddenly stopped his gaze on Natalia. The next moment, Natalia only felt that the sturdy man disappeared from his previous position. Male. Ragnar let out a cold and deep voice. Schwa. In an instant, Male appeared in front of Natalia. His right hand was already raised high in a clenched fist posture. He felt that he would smash down and take Natalia's life at any moment. At this moment, Male's neck was full of cold sweat. He could clearly feel that Ragnar's voice just now had a strong warning meaning. He even had an illusion that if his fist was a few centimeters lower, his head might be separated from his body. This, I'll tell you later. Oh. Male sat on the ground with a baffled expression. As a dragon, it was more suitable for him to use the most primitive method to relax himself. Just now, when Male saw Natalia, he felt the fear that once dominated him from Natalia. Not only did that face look exactly the same, even the magic fluctuation had completely overlapped. That's right, this woman is indeed that person. The person here was referring to the human race's saintess 100 years ago. When Male saw Natalia just now, he felt that this person was coming to kill him again. Thus, he decisively made his move. What's going on? Natalia, who was confused, still didn't know what was going on. Ha, nothing. It's just that this uncle who looks especially funny just walked out of the village. In the village, they often use this method to greet each other. I was afraid that he would scare you guys, so I reminded him. Oh, so it's like this. Natalia suddenly understood. She skipped over to Male's side and imitated the custom of his hometown and used all her strength to slap his rock-like arm. Uncle, hello. Chapter 672. Natalia was dumbfounded. Although this strength was neither painful nor ticklish to him, her face coupled with her strange behavior made Xiong feel a little embarrassed. Back to the topic. Give that thing to me. It's not a good thing for you to keep it. You. What are you talking about? Why don't I understand? Natalia actually knew that Ragnar came to ask for the emerald. Although she didn't know how this idiot got the news, this thing was so precious that she absolutely couldn't give it to him. Oh, still playing dumb? Avina. Avina obediently took out the emerald from the black disc and handed it to Ragnar. Avina, you. Natalia suddenly didn't know what to say. Natalia, I think it's good to give the emerald to teacher Ragnar. Anyway, we don't have the ability to protect it. Humph. As the Demon King, Ragnar had a lot of things to do every day. Originally, he was about to set off to do something, but suddenly remembered the 7 schools jump, so he decided to come and see his lovely students. As soon as he arrived at the Reef Island, Ragnar saw Liliana using the emerald to heal Vala. This thing is not suitable for you. Just like that, Ragnar took the emerald away. Teacher Ragnar, why are you here? In the middle of the night, Liliana secretly asked from the bed. Ragnar had already wanted to leave the reef island and was satisfied after confirming that his students were not in danger. But just as he was about to leave, Ragnar was stopped by Liliana, who said that he would sneak away after they fell asleep. "You're a child. Do you need me to coax you?" Ragnar had no choice but to stay on the reef island for a while. He thought that the three girls would fall asleep soon, but for some reason, Ragnar felt that the more they talked, the more excited they became. Liliana, Avina, and Natalia all curled up in their beds, covered with a quilt, and kept chatting with Ragnar. As for Xiong, how could he stay in the heroine's boudoir? He was chased away by Ragnar to catch game nearby. Coming. Finally, there's delicious food. Xiong hid behind a tree and quietly stared at the voles that had just crawled out of the hole looking for food, just like a hungry wolf crouching for its prey. Sigh. I didn't expect that a noble dragon would be reduced to hunting voles in the countryside. I'm going to find a friend, so I came to see you. Friend? Girlfriend? Liliana asked weakly. No. How could I possibly have a girlfriend? If I did, shouldn't the author have told you all earlier? I'm really going to see a friend. That's right. Liliana sighed. Hey, idiot. I feel like there's a gust of wind coming in here. It's so cold. You must be imagining things. Isn't that right, Liliana, Avina? Yes. Seeing that Liliana and Avina both confirmed in unison, Natalia simply gave up. Is it really my illusion? By the way, as compensation for the emerald, I'll give you a heads up. There's something unexpected in the center of this island. Ragnar's words instantly attracted the attention of the three women, and they all thought that there might be some treasure hidden there. But despite repeated questioning, Ragnar was still unwilling to reveal half a word, and said that it would be meaningful to let them dig and discover by themselves. In the early morning, Natalia and the others finally had enough and unknowingly fell asleep. Phew, I finally fell asleep. Ragnar walked out of the tent very carefully, for fear of making any noise and waking up the three women who had just fallen asleep. Let's deal with one more thing before leaving. A white light flashed under Ragnar's feet, and he jumped to an unknown place. At the same time, somewhere on Reef Island. Damn it, we didn't get the treasure of the goblins. Yes, it's all those three damn women's fault, or else that treasure would be ours. Surrounded by endless darkness, Reynolds Quinn and his group could only rely on the bonfire for warmth and illumination. They collected a large pile of dead leaves, and then lit them up to make a bonfire, and used it as a stronghold. Every 2 hours, one person would go out to scout. Of course, this person was definitely not Reynolds Quinn. He came to participate in the 7 schools leap exercise with his own entourage. The dean of their school was completely a bootlicker, and the moment the Reynolds family gave him a little benefit, he would constantly wag his tail at them. Hey, brother, to be honest, the black pills we got from that, which are really useful. Once they eat it, they do whatever we tell them to do. Indeed, Reynolds leaned against a big tree, and in front of him was the bonfire that illuminated the surroundings. He stuck out his tongue and gently licked his lips. 3,000 Liliana, Jeremy, Natalia, and Avina. Sooner or later, I'll use these pills to make you float under my crotch. As he spoke, Reynolds Quinn couldn't help but close his eyes and fall into a beautiful fantasy. So this is what you're thinking. All of a sudden, a voice that was both familiar and strange to Raynor Quinn came from the surrounding forest. Who? Who is it? The sudden voice startled Reynolds Quinn and his entourage who were squatting beside him. They hurriedly picked up their weapons from the ground, and then faced the surrounding trees back to back. Who is it? Come out quickly. I already see you. In order to bluff, Reynolds Quinn even waved the sword in his hand twice in the air. Pigwa. Where the F*CK did you go? Pigwa was another entourage who was sent out to scout. Aya. Are you talking about him? Finally, a person stood out from behind a big tree on the left in front of Reynolds Quinn. The white shoulder-length hair instantly attracted Raynor Quinn's attention. Those crystal blue eyes were definitely the most beautiful and moving color he had ever seen. This was the appearance that could most arouse his evil thoughts in his life. However, when such a person stood in front of Reynolds Quinn, he was already so scared that his scalp went numb. You're Ragnar? Raynor Quinn felt endless fear from this white-haired beauty. Chapter 673. She was obviously so beautiful, without a trace of killing intent. But is this the person called Pig Hegwa that you were talking about? With a kick of his right foot, Ragnar kicked something round and round at Raynor Quinn's feet. Raynor Quinn took a closer look and discovered that it was actually Pig Hegwa's head. Pig Hegwa's face still had a wretched smile, and his eyes revealed undisguised excitement. This should be Pig Hegwa's first reaction when he saw Ragnar. Aya, I'm really puzzled. Why is the direction of our plot becoming more and more fantastical? What bad guy is addicted to women and so on? I don't know which pig had arranged such a plot. What are you talking about? I don't understand at all. You don't need to understand. Do you still remember what I said to you before? How could Raynor Quinn dare to forget? The person in front of him was the person who declared that he was going to kill him a few days ago during the night sacrifice. Originally, after the first day, he already knew that Ragnar was lying to him, but he didn't expect him to come at this time. Regarding this point, I still have to apologize to you. I was a little busy a few days ago, so I delayed the matter of killing you for a few days. I'm sorry. Ragnar raised his right hand, took out a scroll from the black disc, and then threw it into Raynor Quinn's hand. I've never thought of myself as a good person, but when I see people like you, I feel disgusted. Some of your crimes are recorded in that scroll. You can confirm it. Raynor Quinn trembled as he opened the scroll. The scroll clearly recorded all the heartless things he had done in his life. Of course, not only him, this scroll also recorded the ugly things of the Raynor family. You can't kill me. I am the future successor of the Raynor family. Ragnar helplessly patted his head. Didn't I already say, this isn't a fantasy style? This kind of trick of relying on background is useless. Ragnar used his fingertip to lightly cut the follower's neck in the air, and instantly, a trace of blood appeared on the follower's neck, followed by a few drops of blood coming out from the wound. Big brother, before he could feel anything, the follower's head fell off. The cut surface was so smooth. Looking at the head of his follower falling to the ground for no reason, Raynor Quinn's legs went soft, and he collapsed to the ground. Yellow liquid flowed out of his lower body uncontrollably. That look was simply too much. Ragnar, I can give you anything you want, as long as you don't kill me. Suddenly, a stone smashed into the space between his eyebrows like a gust of wind. Accompanied by a thump sound, he lost consciousness. I don't care about the shameful things you've done, but how dare you target my student? How can I let you die so easily? Ragnar snapped his fingers, and Shiong appeared and carried Raynor Quinn on his shoulder. Io, this smell is really strong. Just like that, the two of them walked towards the center of the forest unhurriedly. Also, I hate it when people call me a beauty. I didn't become like this willingly. When they woke up, it was already the third day of the Seven Schools Leap Festival. The weather today wasn't as clear as the previous days. The evaporated fog from the sea followed the sea breeze to Reef Island and enveloped everything here. Liliana was the first to wake up, followed by Avina, and finally Natalia. Why is the fog here so thick? Liliana stretched out her right hand and opened her 5 fingers. She found that her fingers were now in a very blurry state. The range of visibility should be about 2 meters. Liliana, be careful. I feel that this fog isn't natural. Okay. Avina had already released the large spider puppet. Its huge body instantly occupied 1/5 of the open space, and it was ready for battle at any time. The sudden appearance of a large spider made the goblins think that another monster had appeared to attack them. It was thanks to Wab running around telling everyone about the spider's origin that the panicked people calmed down. Just one tentacle monster in the sea was enough. The goblins didn't want to encounter a second one. They had already agreed to let Vala bring Natalia and the rest to take a look at the strange place this morning. Facing the foggy weather, Vala brought Natalia and the rest to the beach again. Why are we here again? Aren't we afraid of encountering that tentacle monster again? Oh. Vala said that the tentacle monster won't appear in foggy weather. Then why did you come here a few days ago? It's not foggy. Vala touched his green head embarrassedly. Oh, Vala said that his little rubber ball rolled here. Soon, under Vala's guidance, Natalia and the rest found a pothole near the junction of the beach and the sea. The pothole was quite big, about the size of 2 or 3 tents. In the pothole, there were many human weapons scattered messily. There were swords, shields, magic staffs. There were mottled rust stains on the weapons, which should have been caused by being immersed in the sea for a long time. When the tide was high, it was just enough to submerge the pothole. When the tide was low, the remaining seawater in the pothole would seep into the sand and flow back into the sea. This place is quite hidden. I didn't even find this place when I was playing in the water. The pothole was filled to the brim with weapons, and the highest level was parallel to the beach. Why are there so many weapons here? Vala, did you pick up your bow from here? Roar. Vala nodded and signaled to Liliana to come over. There's a decent sword here. Natalia squatted down and picked up a relatively sharp sword in the pothole. Natalia suddenly let out a shriek. Natalia, what's wrong? Natalia, Liliana, and Avina hurriedly helped Natalia up from the ground. It's nothing. It's just that I was scared. Look. Liliana and Avina looked in the direction of Natalia's outstretched finger and found that under the sword there was actually an especially wide open eye. Chapter 674. The strange eyes made Liliana and Avina shiver. What the hell is going on? Avina mustered up her courage and took a deep breath. She squatted down and hurriedly cleaned up the weapons around the eyes. Finally, it revealed its true face. It turned out that the owner of the eyes was a goblin. It had the same short stature as Emmy, but the tip of its pen was rather protruding. The goblin's corpse was covered with dense scars that gave one goosebumps at first glance. Each scar was not long, only about 3 to 6 centimeters in length. There were also more dense needle holes on the body. The scars had been sewn up by surgical threads, and it felt like a very sinister thing had appeared in front of them. What is this thing? It's so disgusting. After Natalia saw this thing, there was an inexplicable reaction in her stomach. She turned her head and vomited everything she ate this morning. Indeed, this goblin's corpse was very disgusting. If one looked closely, they would find that pustules had grown on the skin, as if it had just walked out of a laboratory. Liliana and Avina also felt a little uncomfortable, but it was not to the extent of vomiting like Natalia. From Avina's many years of experience in controlling the undead, she could feel that this goblin had died with deep resentment. Liliana stood up and looked at the pit in front of her. Heterochromatic pupil. Liliana used her heterochromatic pupil. See through it. As expected, Liliana clearly saw that there were many human-shaped remnants of magic in the pit. Look, didn't it move just now? Natalia suddenly shouted. Liliana and Avina quickly cast their gazes on the goblin's corpse. Sure enough, the goblin's fingers moved. This was a very strange thing. Looking at the condition of the corpse, it was reasonable to say that this goblin should have been dead for more than a week. The corpse had been modified into this state, so it should be completely dead. How could its fingers move? Suddenly, the sound of sha-sha could be heard from the nearby forest. Someone's coming. Hide! Natalia, Avina, and Liliana quickly hid in a bush, then stuck their heads out and quietly looked at the goblin lying on the ground. Aya, why is this goblin's corpse outside? A very thin man in a white coat walked out from the place where the noise came from. He wore a light blue surgical cap and pushed an old wooden cart. Behind him were 2 gigantic things. That's right, they were things. They were things that were more than 3 meters tall. The body of a barbarian, the legs of a cheetah, the tail of a kangaroo, and the arms of an orangutan. These completely unrelated things. Only its head was that of a proper human head. What is this thing? Liliana could not help but complain. Natalia, be quiet. You'll be discovered. The 3 girls vaguely felt an inexplicable sense of danger from this unknown thing. What's that sound? The skinny man in the white coat seemed to have heard something. Oh no, Natalia felt that she had caused trouble. Val, The thin man's voice sounded very strange. It always made one scalp itch after hearing it. After the strange thing heard the command, it suddenly froze on the spot. A layer of thin film, like a spider web, opened up near its ear. It should be imitating a bat. It seemed that Val was the name of this strange thing. After 2 seconds, Val retracted the thin film and suddenly looked at the goblin's corpse lying on the ground. The thin man took a closer look and also discovered some signs of movement from the goblin. He suddenly shouted, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Could it be? My experiment has finally succeeded? He quickly threw away the wooden card in his hand and rushed to the goblin's corpse to begin his observation. Val, help me bury those things. The thin man did not forget to point at the thing in the wooden cart. Immediately after, Val dragged its strange body bit by bit and began its mission. For some reason, the fog on the beach was obviously weaker than the other places on the reef island. But fortunately, Natalia and the others could see the words and actions of these two things clearly. Val flipped the wooden cart over. Instantly, several corpses with needle holes and knife scars rolled out. Among them, there was actually the corpse of a human boy. The boy's appearance completely matched the appearance of the person who went missing earlier. Not long ago, Natalia tricked a player who was looking for a teammate. According to him, one of his teammates went missing. Ragnar slowly picked up the many modified corpses on the ground and carried them on his shoulders. Compared to his gorilla-like arms, those corpses were simply too small to be noticed. And they were just like the mottled beard stubble on an old man's chin. Ragnar took out all the weapons in the pit, which were covered by the thin man in order to hide the corpses. Just when Ragnar was about to throw the corpses on his shoulders into the pit, the thin man who was squatting on the ground and looking at the goblins suddenly said, "Ragnar, wait a minute." Ragnar nodded, then threw the corpses on his shoulders to the ground and stood there. After taking out all the weapons, all that was left in the pit were the remains of corpses. For some reason, the bloodstains at the bottom of the pit were in a splattered state. The side closer to the pit was obviously rounder than the side further away. And, let me see, the thin man seemed to treat these corpses as his toys. He directly jumped into the pit and kept rummaging through the corpses inside. After a while, he finally crawled out of the hole. His white coat had been dyed red, and even the tip of his nose was stained with blood. However, he didn't seem to care about it. It seems that this is the only special case. The thin man's voice was strange, and it made people feel uncomfortable listening to it. Forget it. This one is already very good. It means that my experiment has made further progress. Chapter 675. The thin man patted the mud off his body. Ragnar, bury them. Oh. Ragnar nodded slowly with his human head, then picked up the corpses on the ground again and threw them into the hole. Then he picked up the weapons and threw them on top of his body in the same way. After everything was done, Ragnar stretched out his huge finger and gently poked the thin man. Oh, is it all done? Not bad, not bad. Carry this thing back. The thin man pointed to the goblin on the ground. Oh. Ragnar nodded, bent down, and carried the goblin on his shoulder. Oh, the fog is going to disperse. Ragnar, let's go back. Oh, the thin man hurriedly urged. But just as the thin man and Ragnar were about to leave Natalia's sight, Natalia suddenly found that Ragnar was looking at the big tree she was hiding in. In a panic, Natalia's sight coincided with Ragnar's. Its eyes were so empty, as if it was a machine without consciousness. Oh no! Just when Natalia, Avina, and Natalia felt that something was wrong, the thin man's urging broke the silence. Ragnar, what are you waiting for? Go! The thin man walked up to Ragnar and patted Ragnar's arm. With his height, even if he raised his hand high, he could barely touch Ragnar's neck. He looked at the place where Ragnar's vision was focused and found that there was nothing there. Then he turned and walked away. Oh. Ragnar also turned his gaze, as if he didn't care about Natalia, and then followed the thin man's footsteps and disappeared into the beach on the other side. The shock that Ragnar left on the three women lasted for a long time. Even though Ragnar had been gone for a while, the three women still didn't dare to come out from behind the tree, fearing that the monster would suddenly turn back. 15 minutes later, Natalia clearly felt that the fog around them was about to disperse. Natalia wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. She couldn't help but recall Ragnar's eyes just now. It was really frightening. His eyes were so wide open that they were completely white, without any black in them. Natalia sighed. Just as she was about to come out from behind the tree, Avina suddenly pulled her back. Shush! Avina put her index finger outside her lips, indicating Natalia not to speak. What? Natalia followed Avina's line of sight and found 2 or 3 tentacle-like things quietly reaching out from the sea. They moved along the beach and didn't make any sound. The tentacles were about as thick as a big tree that had grown for more than 10 years. The whole body was black, and the suction cups at the bottom were very bright red. Natalia was very sure that this was the tentacle monster that attacked her before. Looking at the direction it was wriggling in, it shouldn't have noticed the existence of herself, Avina, and Natalia. Natalia held her breath and looked carefully. The wriggling speed of those tentacles wasn't fast, and the route they were moving in was also quite twisted, like a snake crawling left and right. Tongue. The dark tentacle came into contact with an iron weapon in the pit, making a very crisp sound. Schwa! It seemed to have sensed something. Suddenly, its body trembled, and its tentacles tightened. Then, the tentacle close to the beach split open from the middle like a blooming flower. The bottom of the tentacle slowly opened, revealing what it should look like inside. So disgusting. Natalia was very clearly able to see that there were densely packed, very sharp protrusions in the tentacle, and these protrusions were slowly wriggling in the flesh of the tentacle, covering the entire line of sight. These tentacles were like a mouth. They very carefully entered the gaps of the weapon, trying their best to not get the weapon out of the pit. The tentacle had already reached the innermost part of the pit, and immediately after, Natalia and the others heard kacha-kacha chewing sound coming from the pit. It's actually eating those corpses. Avina lowered her head and thought, no wonder those bloodstains appeared in the form of splashes. So it's because of this thing. From the chewing sound, the speed of those tentacles eating the corpses should be relatively slow, and this attracted Avina's attention. Why is this thing eating so carefully? After a while, the chewing sound finally stopped. It should have finished eating. Those tentacles slowly retracted from the pit, and once again went back along the route that they had just passed through. Along the way, there were still many pieces of rotten flesh stuck to the sand, which should be the part that got into the teeth. When the dark tentacle stretched out from the pit, it was already blood red, and Natalia couldn't help but think that the red suckers were very likely left behind by eating flesh all year round. The blood left a big S shape on the beach, and in this foggy weather, it actually looked very sinister. The tentacle finally disappeared from the end of the beach, and a fierce wave burst out from the center of the sea and pounced on the beach. The sinister S-shaped bloodstains and pieces of rotten flesh were also swept into the sea, disappearing without a trace. For some reason, since the tentacle returned to the bottom of the sea, the fog that pervaded the reef island began to gradually dissipate, and this point was also noticed by Avina. It should be over, right? Phew, what the hell is going on? And it's indeed very strange. Isn't this the venue of the 7 schools competition? How could something like killing a contestant happen? To be honest, what happened just now left a big psychological impact on the 3 girls. They originally just wanted to take a look at the so-called pit filled with strange things, but they didn't expect that a goblin's corpse would appear, and then that eccentric thin man and the odd-looking Ragnar would appear. They thought that after they left, the matter would be over, but the tentacle monster that attacked them that day also appeared. I think these things can be linked together. The 3 girls walked out from behind the tree. After the fog dispersed, the beach looked as beautiful as usual, with blue sky and white clouds and the smell of moist seawater. But who would have thought that in the past 10 minutes, something that left a lingering fear would happen here? Chapter 676. Avina subconsciously mimicked Ragnar's classic action. She placed her right hand in front of her lower abdomen, then placed her left arm on the back of her right hand, and placed her palm on her chin, as if she was thinking about something. Fortunately, when they discovered the goblin, Natalia had already chased Vala back to the tribe. What happened here could not be casually spread out. Fog, potholes, various weapons, goblin, eccentric man, and that monster-like Reynolds wooden cart that was used to transport corpses. The time when the fog appears is very fixed. The goblin is clearly already dead, but the corpse is actually still able to move. The missing contestant, the transformation, the cruel traces on the corpse. Avina kept thinking back to all the clues that had come up so far. The unexpected surprise that teacher Ragnar said, "Tentacle monster, potholes." Avina closed her eyes and filtered these clues in her mind. "Natalia, do you still remember the peace agreement?" I remember. The peace agreement was an agreement signed between the humans and the demons 100 years ago. At that time, the war between humans and demons had lasted for 1,000 years, and both sides no longer had the ability to continue providing the huge amount of manpower, material, and financial resources needed for the war. Thus, both sides signed the peace agreement. The peace agreement clearly stated that no race could use any improper reason to harm the lives of other races, or else they would be subject to the joint crusade of the other races. At that time, when the agreement was signed, the beasts also interfered and forcibly changed the agreement from humans and demons to humans and beasts. From then on, the three races of humans and beasts would not interact with each other on Starwish Island. After so many years since the agreement was signed, the effectiveness of the agreement had slightly weakened. Now, the beasts were more open, and they also had similar business activities between humans and demons. They would never endanger the safety of other races, and of course, no one would come to harm them. However, there were policies at the top and countermeasures at the bottom. The peace agreement could only restrict the behavior of each race on the surface, who knew what kind of sneaky actions they had in the dark. "Hey, I'll have a bold guess." Avina opened her mouth and said, "According to the appearance of that Renault and those corpses just now, I reckon that Strange Man had some illegal secret experiments on Reef Island." "And that makes sense." Natalia nodded. She thought about it carefully and realized that it was indeed the case. Yeah. Liliana agreed. According to the terms of the peace agreement, his experiments can't be made public. He has seriously threatened the safety of the orcs on Reef Island. You can tell by looking at the goblins. Avina and Liliana recalled the gnome that had been modified beyond recognition and couldn't help but pity it. But experiments are bound to fail, and those dead bodies should be the result of that failure. Avina pointed at the pothole on the beach. They throw the bodies of those who failed into this hole, and then use the weapons to cover the bodies to prevent them from being discovered. At this point, Liliana could not help but interrupt. "Avina, what you said before makes sense. But why didn't it directly dispose of those corpses, such as burning them or something like that? And I have also thought about this problem of yours. Firstly, he definitely couldn't have buried the corpse directly in the ground. That way, there's a high possibility that the corpse would be discovered by some beasts living underground. As for why he didn't burn the corpse, I feel that it might have something to do with his experiments. Look at those chemicals. Aren't they very flammable and explosive? Oh, that makes a lot of sense. After he buried those corpses in the pothole, he definitely couldn't leave them alone. I think that this fog is likely to be deliberately created by that person. He took advantage of the fog to transport the corpses into the pothole, and then fed them to the tentacle monster. Avina's analysis instantly received high praise and affirmation from Liliana and Natalia. They expressed their agreement one after another. Since that scientist buried the corpses in the pothole and didn't directly feed them to the tentacle monster, then it's very likely that the two of them are not in cahoots. It might be the opposite. That tentacle monster is a certain threat to that scientist. Avina changed the way she addressed that eccentric man to scientist. This way, it should be more convenient for them to communicate. Then what should we do now? Liliana crossed her arms in front of her chest. If we just leave it alone in terms of our own interests, It's definitely the best choice for us, but before she finished speaking, the three women looked at each other and saw the answer in each other's eyes. Sigh, it seems that my worries are unnecessary. There's no other way. Although I also hate troublesome matters, if we just leave it alone, there will definitely be more humans and orcs that will be killed. Avina spread out her hands and ridiculed helplessly. Indeed, it seems that the more beautiful and capable a person is, the greater the responsibility. Liliana stroked her blonde hair and said with emotion. Indeed, Avina nodded. I'm not talking about you, idiot. Although they were messing around, they still had to discuss proper business. The three women had already decided to carry out the scientist transformation plan to the end. That's right, the codename of this operation was given by Liliana. Scientist transformation plan. One could tell that the person who gave this name was very uncultured. The surprise that teacher Ragnar mentioned before should be referring to this matter. That idiot, I thought there was some treasure hidden. It turns out that it's such a mess. Since teacher Ragnar told us about this matter, then in his eyes, we should be able to solve it alone. Natalia laid out the abstract map drawn by Wab on the ground and began to plan the next route. According to what teacher Ragnar said, that person's experimental base should be in this area. Avina put her right finger in the center of the map, where there were circles of black lines drawn by Wab. Wab said that this place is very dangerous. Many goblins have gone missing here, so I guess this should be the work of that scientist. That's right, Liliana named that eccentric thin man scientist. Since she didn't know his name, she might as well give him one now. Chapter 677. From the map, it could be seen that the shape of the reef island was actually a circular island. From the center to the outside, there would be a circular river every 10,000 meters, dividing the reef island into several regions. Looking at it this way, the reef island had a total of 3 circular rivers, dividing the reef island into the first, second, third, and fourth rings, a total of 4 regions. Liliana and her companions were at the 4th ring, which was the outermost ring. That was correct. They were far from the first ring. How did the scientist get here? You might have underestimated that Renault beside him. With Iwena's reminder, Liliana recalled the scene where she and Renault looked at each other. What's that, Reynolds? He's so scary. I don't know. Natalia shook her head. But I feel that he's pitiful. After confirming the plan, Liliana and her companions felt that it wasn't easy. They had to prevent other teams from ambushing them and take on the mission of investigating the scientist modification plan. It wasn't easy. The 3 of them discussed and decided to reach the 3rd ring before nightfall. After resting for a night, they would enter the 3rd ring. I feel that we should make preparations and think of a way to deal with Reynolds. My intuition tells me that he's very dangerous. Indeed, from his body structure, he should have the characteristics of many animals. His gorilla arm feels like it can smash me half to death. Liliana shuddered. She could already imagine herself being flattened into meat paste. AI, I'm still so beautiful even when I'm minced meat. Reynolds should be top-notch in terms of speed, perceptive sense, and defense. If we can't think of a countermeasure, we'll be at a disadvantage. From Natalia's analysis, she had a clear understanding of the current situation. According to Nawab, the deeper they ventured into Reef Island, the more dangerous it was. Nawab didn't specify the dangers, since the current generation of goblins had never left the 4th ring. Some of the information about the 3rd ring was given to them by Vala. According to Vala, she had been to the 3rd ring when she was under Vassalit Vaughn's control. This place seemed to be famous for its swamps and plants. For some reason, the plants here seemed to be alive. They would tie up things that were dangerous to them and drag them into the swamps to protect their own safety. Although that was the case, they were just plants after all. A simple spell could cut the attacking plants into several pieces, so there was no need to worry too much. This was only the outermost area of the 3rd ring. How could it be so dangerous? After traveling for 2 to 3 hours, they finally arrived at the outskirts of the 3rd ring before evening. Along the way, they were quite lucky. They didn't encounter any other participating teams, but it was also possible that they didn't want to face them at all, so they didn't show up. But in terms of results, This was definitely the best outcome. The third ring had more dense trees than the fourth ring. Moreover, due to the influence of the terrain and weather, the air was always filled with a humid smell. It smelled like clothes that had been soaked in smelly water for a long time. It was a little tipsy. When Tizia and the others arrived at the third ring, it was already 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. In this season, the night on the Reef Island was especially fast. In just a short while, the sky had already become darker than Tizia's hair. The surroundings were so dark that one couldn't even see one's 5 fingers. Although it wasn't to that extent, it was more or less the same as not being able to see one's toes. At night, the owl hanging upside down on the tree gave people a very strange feeling. It gently turned its head 180 degrees, and its eyes met with Tizia's eyes. Phew, that scared me. Tizia patted her chest to calm down the slight panic in her heart. The cool night wind blew on her skin, the water droplets on the leaves dripping to the ground. All of these caused Tizia to be extremely nervous. Tizia, relax. You're too nervous. I don't want to either. As soon as I relax, I think about Dong's eyes. I feel like a dead fish, and my whole body is covered with goosebumps. Blossom thought for a moment. Then let's play truth or dare. Oh, Tizia's eyes instantly lit up. At this time, somewhere in the sea. Hey, Ragnar, are you so assured that your 3 precious students will go to the center of the Reef Island? If that thing comes back to life, it will be very troublesome. In the middle of the night, the reflection of the moonlight was reflected on the surface of the sea, and the sound of the surging waves surrounded the ears. The hua-hua sound of the water seemed to be full of magic, able to make the listener feel relaxed and happy. Occasionally, a small fish would jump out of the water and do a carp flip. Don't worry, don't underestimate them. Their crafty ideas are comparable to mine. The sea surface that stretched as far as the eye could see was suddenly stirred up by a gust of wind. A colossal object flew close to the surface of the sea. The fiery red scales showed an indescribable majesty, and the huge and powerful wings on its back flapped up and down, causing the nearby fish to be unable to sleep. So forget it. Since you're so confident, don't blame me for not warning you if something happens. According to Ragnar's request, Renaud had already returned to his fire dragon body. Renaud was now carrying Ragnar across the sea at a very fast speed. Thinking about it carefully, the 3 of them might be in a bit of danger. It's better to finish the matter quickly and hurry back. What's the matter with your student called Tizia? Oh, you want to know? Ragnar sat on top of Renaud's head and said in a very annoying tone, "He's so angry." That's right. I want to know what's going on. In a fit of anger, Renaud directly turned 360 degrees in the air, almost throwing Ragnar into the sea. Bang! Ouch! Do you still dare do it? Wrong. Renaud was also very puzzled at this time. How did he meet this jinx? And he couldn't beat him. What a miserable life. Chapter 678. When Reynolds heard this, his eyes immediately widened. No, that's impossible. Is there really such a thing as reincarnation? How should I put it? If certain conditions are met, it is indeed possible. Ragnar's explanation shocked Renaud. This was the first time he had heard of reincarnation. If that's the case, then there's nothing to worry about. Reynolds had heard about the relationship between this demon king and the human saintess. How should he put it? They were sworn enemies. That's strange. Why did he accept her as a student? What a weirdo. By the way, where are you going? Just fly straight for a while, and we'll be there. Fly straight? Reynolds thought about the geographical location in front of him. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. His whole body trembled, and he stopped abruptly, floating in the air. The air pressure generated by the sudden stop directly hit the nearby water surface, and a hazy drizzle began to fall from the sky. Ragnar raised his right fist. I have a bad feeling. Bang. Ouch. I hit the same spot as before, double the happiness. I just changed into these clothes today, and you drenched them just like that. Ragnar simply wrung the water on his clothes. Why didn't you tell me where you were going? Reynolds gasped. Are you crazy? If you bring me to the Beast King, what if my brother finds out? will take me back by force. Don't worry. My relationship with the Beast King is actually quite good. I came here this time because I have something important to do. If it wasn't for the fact that he hates it when I directly teleport to his place, I wouldn't need you to bring me here. But Kiki is my brother. Don't worry, your brother won't find out. Ragnar raised his huge fist high again. All right, I'll go and return it. You should have said so earlier. Ragnar put on a harmless look. Ragnar's the most vicious heart. According to seniority, the current Beast Emperor was Reynolds' older brother. The Beast Emperor and Sky Dragon were very good friends, and they were of similar age, so they were of the same generation. As the saying goes, a friend's little brother is your own little brother. Therefore, Reynolds could be considered half a younger brother of the Beast Emperor. It wasn't that Reynolds didn't want to go. The main reason was that his older brother, the Sky Dragon, would often play chess with the Beast Emperor. If they really met, things would be interesting. I've checked. Your brother isn't in the Beast Emperor Castle. The Beast Emperor Castle was where the royal family of the Beast race resided. After a few minutes, a row of uneven shapes finally appeared on the other side of the coastline. That was the mountain range in the Beast race's territory. The territory of the Beast race was not the same as that of the human race and the demon race. Although each of them had a third of the Starwish Island, most of the Beast race's territory was made up of the ocean, and there were many small islands under it. Reef Island was a good example. The island where the Beast Emperor Castle was located was called Gully Ridge. It was an island full of steep cliffs. The average altitude was more than 2,000 meters, and the highest drop was 10,000 meters. Every step had to be taken carefully. If you missed a step, what awaited you would be a bottomless abyss. Therefore, the survival of the fittest. All the Beast race that lived in Gully Ridge had one or two life-saving skills. In the blink of an eye, Reynolds and Ragnar had already flown to the top of Gully Ridge. Thanks to Reynolds' majestic body, no Beast race came to cause trouble. Occasionally, there would be one or two arrogant scum who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, but they were all scared out of their wits by Reynolds' roar. If one looked down at the entire Gully Ridge from the sky, they would find that there was actually not a single skyscraper here. There were only some caves built out of stone. They didn't protect against the cold in winter, and they didn't protect against the heat in summer. If it were a human, they wouldn't be able to last a season. Fortunately, the Beast race's physique was top-notch. Their fur was also very rich, and the fat under their skin was enough for them to keep warm and exercise. After flying for a while, 2 or 3 barbarians on wyverns flew towards them from the right. They were holding huge maces in their hands and wearing heavy armor with precious fur sewn on them. Oh, they're coming. Ragnar already knew that there would be guards coming to check. After all, how could the headquarters of the orc race allow a dragon to enter their territory? Not to mention a dragon that they had never seen before. Roar, 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 roar. A strong barbarian walked out from the barbarians. Although he looked like a barbarian from his body shape and temperament, he should be the captain of this barbarian patrol team. Ah, the beast language again. Every time Ragnar heard the beast race speak their language, he would have an inexplicable urge to laugh. The beast race's language didn't have a complete system. Every place had its own dialect. The Goblet tribe on Reef Island also proved this point. In order to better govern, the Beast King had no choice but to unify the official language. But after thinking about it, forcing someone to speak a language that he had never heard before, even if he could speak it, the pronunciation would be uneven, and it would be hilarious. In order to communicate better, the dialogue between the two sides was directly translated into human language. Stop, who are you? Don't you know where this is? You juniors don't know who I am? Reynolds was a little angry when he heard the other party's words. 100 years ago, he was so glorious. There was no place he couldn't go in the Beastman's territory. The only ones who could control him were his brother, the Sky Dragon, and the Beast Emperor. We've never heard of a dragon other than the Sky Dragon. At this moment, a barbarian tugged at the patrol captain's armor and whispered in his ear, "Captain, didn't the Sky Dragon say that he had a younger brother? Could it be him?" The patrol captain lowered his head and thought for a while. Impossible. According to reliable information, the The Sky Dragon's younger brother was killed by the Saintess 100 years ago. How could he appear here? What, you said I'm dead? Renault opened its big mouth and unscrupulously spat out fierce flames into the empty air. The high temperature of over 1,000 degrees distorted the light. However, the barbarian patrol squad wasn't moved by the appearance of the fire dragon. Chapter 679. Avina is the reincarnation of the hero who defeated you. Don't you understand? Even though they knew they couldn't win and might die in battle, as guards of the Beast King castle, they had to be unafraid of death and be prepared to sacrifice themselves for the Beast King at any time. Therefore, they had no intention of retreating. On the other hand, the patrol captain had already taken out a communication tool from his armor. He was planning to call for reinforcements. Renault, calm down. You're making such a big fuss. What if Heaven finds out? Heaven was the name of Renault's older brother, the Sky Dragon. Huff, huff. Luckily, I was smart enough to control myself and didn't spit fire at them. Sigh. Ragnar patted his head and then jumped down from Reynolds' head with both hands. We're actually here to find the Beast King for something. Please make way and let us pass. You are? The patrol captain squinted his eyes. White shoulder-length hair, crystal blue eyes. This temperament. Why do I feel like it's familiar? Logically speaking, the aesthetics of humans and demons shouldn't be effective in the beast race. No matter how charming or handsome a man or woman was, they wouldn't be able to arouse the desires of the beast race. They had their own unique aesthetics. But the beast race, which had no lust for humans and demons, actually felt a trace of affection for this person in front of him. He didn't know whether this person was a human or a demon, a man or a woman. I remember. May I know why Lord Demon King has brought this unregistered fire dragon to my gully ridge? What? Unregistered? I'll burn you to ashes, do you believe me? Ragnar patted Renault's head, indicating for him to calm down. This matter is very important. How can I tell a small captain like you? The patrol captain also knew that he didn't have the right to ask the Demon King. In fact, he respected the Demon King very much. It grew up hearing about the Demon King's deeds. In order for the demon race to survive for a long time, the Demon King sealed the heavenly gully all by himself. It was said that the Demon King used to be a very, very handsome man, but after that incident, there seemed to be some sequelae, and his appearance became more and more feminine. This was only the information he had obtained after flipping through a lot of books. The beast race did not have the habit of tampering with historical records like the human race. Any further information was not something a squad leader like him could access. Just as the squad leader was feeling troubled, he suddenly received a message from the Beast Emperor. Honorable Lord Demon King, I just received an order. Lord Beast Emperor is waiting for you in the Beast Emperor Castle. With that, the captain waved his arm and flew away with the other barbarians. What kind of attitude is that? Why is she so nice to you? She looks at me like I'm a swindler. It's normal. You'll get used to it. Finally, with no one in the way, Ragnar and Renault arrived at the Beast King Castle without any hindrance. The Beast Emperor Castle was built halfway up the highest mountain in the Gully Ridge. Dragon Teeth Mountain was the name of this mountain. The name of Dragon Teeth Mountain came from its unique shape, which looked like a dragon's tooth growing out of the ground. The mountain was slightly curved, and it was 9,320 meters above sea level. It was rugged and steep, and the 90-degree vertical angle was a major feature of this place. The slightest carelessness could lead to a fall. The Beast Emperor Castle was located within Dragon Teeth Mountain. Reynold brought Ragnar to a cave in Dragon Teeth Mountain, which was heavily guarded on both sides. They flew into the cave and saw that the walls were illuminated by faint blue lights. These lights were made from the remains of a special plant, which could emit faint blue light. The entrance of the cave led straight into Dragon Teeth Mountain, which was like a maze full of dense tunnels. Fortunately, Ragnar and Renault had been here before, so they didn't get lost. Following the path in their memories, Reynold and Ragnar finally arrived at the core of the Beast Emperor Castle, where the Beast Emperor's throne was located. It was a very large cave, and the surrounding walls were carved with countless lifelike murals, which made people feel a sense of oppression. There were no other beasts here, so the Beast Emperor should have evacuated them. In the center of the cave, there was a stone chair nearly 100 meters long. The bottom of the stone chair was connected to the ground, which seemed to have been carved out by a huge rock. Not far in front of the stone chair was a table of similar size. The table was carved with many horizontal and vertical lines, which were used by the Beast Emperor to play chess. "Yo, long time no see. Little tortoise." Ragnar raised his right hand and greeted him as if he was greeting an old friend. "Ragnar, don't talk nonsense." Ragnar's words scared Reynold so much that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. He actually dared to call the Beast Emperor Little Tortoise. At this time, there was a huge round creature sitting on the stone chair. Its body was tightly wrapped in a round, dark green shell, and only its short limbs and head were exposed. If an outsider saw it, they would definitely think that it was an old tortoise that had been magnified countless times. That's right, this was the most powerful Beast Emperor in the legends, the Beast Emperor. According to Nawab, the deeper they went into the Reef Island, the more dangerous it became. Nawab didn't say what the dangers were. After all, the goblins of this generation had never left the fourth ring. Some information about the third ring was given to them by Vala. According to Vala, he had come to the third ring when he was under the control of Vasilifone. This place seemed to be famous for its swamps and plants. For some reason, the plants here seemed to have a life of their own. They would tie up dangerous things and drag them into the swamps to protect their own safety. Although this was the case, they were still just plants. They could easily cut the attacking plants into pieces with magic, so they didn't have to worry too much. This was only the outermost layer of the third ring, so how could it be so dangerous? Avina and the others walked for 2 to 3 hours and finally arrived at the outermost layer of the third ring before evening. Chapter 680. They were lucky that they didn't meet any other teams along the way, but it was also possible that they didn't want to fight against them, so they didn't show up. But in terms of the result, this was definitely the best. There were more dense trees in the third ring area than in the fourth ring area. And because of the influence of the terrain and weather all year round, the air was always filled with a humid smell. It was like the smell of clothes that had been soaked in stinky water for a long time. It was a little high. When Avina and the others arrived at the third ring area, it was already 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. In this season, the sky on the Reef Island turned dark very quickly. In just a short while, the sky had already become darker than Lilith's hair. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's fingers in front of one's face. Although it wasn't that bad, it was almost the same as not being able to see one's toes. The owl hanging upside down on the tree at night gave people a very strange feeling. It gently turned its head 180 degrees and looked into Avina's eyes. Phew, that scared me. Avina patted her chest to calm down a little bit of panic. The cool night wind blowing on the skin, the water droplets on the leaves dripping to the ground, all of these caused Avina to be highly nervous. Avina, relax. You're too nervous. I don't want to be. As soon as I relax, I think of Dong's eyes and feel like a dead fish. I have goosebumps all over my body. Natalia thought for a while. Then let's play truth or dare. Oh, Avina's eyes lit up instantly. At this time, somewhere in the sea. Hey, Ragnar, are you really not worried about your 3 precious students going to the center of the Reef Island? If that thing comes back to life, it will be very troublesome. In the middle of the night, the reflection of the moonlight was reflected on the sea level, and the sound of surging waves surrounded the ears. The sound of the water seemed to be full of magic, which could make the listener feel relaxed and happy. Occasionally, small fish would jump out of the water and do a carp flip. Don't worry, don't underestimate them. Their crafty ideas are comparable to mine. The sea surface that stretched as far as the eye could see was suddenly stirred up by a gust of wind. A colossal object flew close to the surface of the sea. The fiery red scales showed an indescribable majesty, and the huge and powerful wings flapped up and down on its back, making the nearby fishes unable to sleep. Sai, forget it. Since you're so confident, that's fine. Don't blame me for not warning you if something happens. According to Ragnar's request, Renault had returned to his dragon form. Renault was now carrying Ragnar across the sea at a very fast speed. And, thinking about it carefully, the three of them might indeed be in a bit of danger. It is better for me to hurry up and finish my business and hurry back. What's up with that student of yours called Avina? Oh, do you want to know? Ragnar sat on top of Reynolds' head and said in a very annoying tone, "Hiss, so hot." That's right, I want to know what's up. In a fit of anger, Renault directly turned 360 degrees in the air, almost throwing Ragnar into the sea. Bang! So painful. Do you still dare do it? Wrong. Renault was also very puzzled at this moment. Why did I have to meet this jinx? And I can't even beat him. My life is really bitter. Avina is the reincarnation of the hero who defeated you. Don't you understand? Hearing that, Renault immediately opened his eyes wide. No, that's impossible. Is there really such a thing as reincarnation? And, how should I put it? If certain conditions are met, it is indeed possible. Ragnar's explanation made Renault extremely shocked. This was also the first time he heard the word reincarnation. Since that's the case, then there's no problem. Renault had heard about the matter between this demon king and the human saintess. How should I put it? They could be considered as sworn enemies. Then that's strange. Why did he still accept her as a student? What a strange person. That's right, where are you going? Just fly straight for a while. Won't we reach there? Fly straight. Renault thought about the geographical location in front of him. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. His whole body trembled, and he suddenly stopped and floated in the air. The air pressure produced by the sudden stop directly hit the nearby water surface, and a hazy drizzle began to fall from the sky. Ragnar raised his right fist. I have a bad premonition. Bang! So painful. I hit the same position as before, double the happiness. This is the clothes I just changed into today, and it was drenched by you just like that. Ragnar simply wrung the water on his clothes. Who asked you to not clearly say where you're going? Renault gasped. Are you crazy? Bringing me to the Beast Emperor. What if my brother finds out? Won't he forcefully capture me back? Don't worry. I actually have a pretty good relationship with the Beast Emperor. I came here this time to do something important. If it wasn't for the fact that he hates me to directly teleport to his place, I wouldn't have asked you to bring me here. But Kiki is my brother. Don't worry. Your brother won't find out. Ragnar raised his huge fist high again. All right, I'll go and return it. You should have said so earlier. Ragnar put on a harmless look. Ragnar is the most vicious person. According to seniority, the current Beast Emperor was Renault's elder brother. The Beast Emperor and the Sky Dragon were very good friends, and they were the same age. As the saying goes, a friend's younger brother is one's own younger brother. Therefore, Renault could be considered half of the Beast Emperor's younger brother. This actually wasn't the reason why Renault didn't want to go. The most important thing was that his elder brother, the Sky Dragon, often went to play chess with the Beast Emperor. If they really met, it would be fun. I've checked. Your brother isn't in the Beast Emperor Castle. The Beast Emperor Castle was the place where the Beast Emperor's royal family lived. After a few minutes, a row of uneven shapes finally appeared on the other side of the coastline. It was the vast mountain range of the Beast Emperor's territory. The Beast Emperor's territory was not the same as that of the human race and the demon race. Although they all equally divided 1/3 of the Star Wish Island, most of the Beast Emperor's territory was formed by the sea, and there were many subsidiary islands under the sea. Reef Island was a good example. Chapter 681. The island where the Beast Emperor Castle was located was called Gully Ridge. It was an island full of steep cliffs, with an average elevation of more than 2,000 meters above sea level, with the highest drop reaching 10,000 meters. One had to be extra careful with every step. If they missed a step, what awaited them would be a bottomless abyss. Therefore, the survival of the fittest. All the beasts living in Gully Ridge would have 1 or 2 life-saving skills. In the blink of an eye, Reynolds and Ragnar had already flown to the top of Gully Ridge. Thanks to Reynolds's dragon physique and majesty, no beasts came to cause trouble. Occasionally, one or two arrogant bastards would come over, but they were all scared out of their wits by Reynolds's shout. The Beast Emperor sat on a stone chair and let out a deep voice. The Beast Emperor's voice was like a very blunt machete. It clearly didn't have any impact, but it could make the other party feel oppressed and submit. Brother, Reynolds's eyes were a little evasive, as if he didn't want to look directly at the Beast Emperor in front of him. That guy, Heaven, has been looking for you for 100 years. I thought you were already dead, but I didn't expect you to be with this guy. The guy the Beast Emperor was talking about was, of course, Ragnar. That Reynolds didn't know what to say. In fact, he was afraid of the Beast Emperor from the bottom of his heart. If the Beast Emperor didn't force him to be his godbrother, according to Reynolds's personality, he definitely wouldn't want to have anything to do with the Beast Emperor. Little tortoise. Don't talk about Reynolds like that. I also picked it up a few days ago in the human world. After that, Ragnar told the Beast Emperor how he discovered Reynolds. I see. Your escape skills aren't bad either, the Beast Emperor said slowly. But the next moment, he suddenly stared at the place where Ragnar was standing. Foam! A wind blade so fast that even Reynolds didn't notice it directly attacked Ragnar. Bang! A sound was heard. A few meters long crack was left on the ground. A little tortoise. How could you sneak attack me without saying anything? Ragnar used a space jump to change his position before the wind blade hit him, and used it to dodge the attack. Just as he finished speaking, another foam sound was heard. The second wind blade appeared. It was much faster and more powerful than the previous one. Unfortunately, Ragnar easily dodged it. I told you not to call me Little Tortoise. All right, I won't call you. Little Turtle. Foam. He missed again. At this moment, Renaud was already dumbfounded. He had heard speculations about the Demon King's strength in the past. Some people said that he was the strongest person on Starwish Island, but he didn't believe it. Looking at it now, he had to admit defeat. In fact, as early as 100 years ago, Renaud didn't plan to go to Dingsheng to play with humans. He originally wanted to go to Karsa City to fight with Ragnar, but at that time, the war was very tense and Ragnar was busy at the front line, so he wasn't in Karsa City at all. Now that I think about it, he was really lucky that he wasn't in Shanghai at that time. Tell me, Ragnar, why have you come here today? The Beast Emperor knew that his attack would fail, but he still used it to warn Ragnar. About this, the thing that I'm going to tell you is very important. Is it that you demons don't have enough pigs to eat again? All right. I'll give you another 10,000 pigs. The Beast Emperor waved his tortoise paw as if he was trying to dismiss a beggar. It's not that. It's something really important. Don't lie to me. When have you ever said something important that you didn't ask me for something? The Beast Emperor's tone unknowingly became a lot more agitated. Even Renaud had never seen the Beast Emperor like this before. Really? It's about humans. The Beast Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly. He could indeed feel the seriousness of the matter from Ragnar's heartbeat. The Beast Emperor was a turtle god that had lived for thousands of years. Although his eyesight had begun to show signs of deterioration, in terms of hearing and smell, he could definitely be said to be the strongest. How strong was he? It was said that the Beast Emperor could judge whether a person was lying or not by listening to their heartbeat. Renaud, you go out first. Oh. Reynolds sighed and slowly dragged his huge body out of the cave. His appearance was actually a little funny. Wait a minute. I still need Renaud's help. Ragnar called out to Reynolds, who was about to leave, and his playful expression changed into a very serious one. You should have heard a lot about what humans have done these years, right? Yes, but that's only against you demons. What does it have to do with us beasts? It has a lot to do with you. At this very moment, on an island called Reef Island near the border of the human territory, over 100 human beings are having a competition there. I've heard a little about this matter, but their competition isn't disadvantageous to us beasts, so let them do as they please. Ragnar waved his hand and continued. It seems that you beasts are really not up to date with the news. Just a few days ago, a goblin patriarch was killed by humans. Oh? I already know about this. Didn't you already punish the murderer? He deserved it. Haha, little tortoise is really good. But there's one thing you might not know. On Reef Island, the human emperor sent a lot of resources to you beasts for experiments. What? The beast emperor frowned, and his dim eyes seemed to suddenly become fierce. The beast emperor was famous for being protective. No matter how low his own people were, he would not allow anyone to be hurt. If you don't believe me, you can ask Renaud. He knows. Renaud, is that true? The beast emperor looked at Renaud with a very serious expression. It is true. There was a human who was experimenting on beasts in an attempt to revive a vampire earl. The vampire earl was once a very famous noble among the beasts. As the name implied, it lived by sucking the blood of other beasts. In the beginning, it was fine. The vampire earl only sucked a little blood from other beasts, but later on, it began to directly torture and kill creatures, causing the death of thousands of creatures. Chapter 682. Moreover, the vampire earl was one of the best vampires. The more blood it absorbed, the more powerful it became. Later, the vampire earl's evil deeds aroused the wrath of the beast emperor. The beast emperor personally came to end its life and left its body on the Reef Island. The vampire earl, a centipede, dies but does not fall down. It seems that I have to do it myself. The beast emperor bent forward and was about to stand up. Wait a minute. Wait for me to finish. Ragnar interrupted the beast emperor's movement. I've already asked others to clean up the Reef Island. Let's talk about something else. Of course, he was referring to Avina and the others. Don't beat around the bush, just say it. As expected of the little turtle, your turtle ears are getting more and more powerful. Ragnar changed the topic. Soon, the demon race will declare war on the human race. Ragnar said very calmly. What? Reynolds, who was squatting on the side, was speechless. He didn't expect that the fun thing Ragnar was talking about was actually going to war with the human race. Hey, you don't want me to get involved, do you? Reynolds stealthily took a few steps back, wanting to leave this place as soon as possible. After hearing this, the beast emperor stood up. Compared to its huge body, Ragnar was really as small as an ant. Ragnar, you should know that the beast race has always been the guardian of the Starwish Island, maintaining the balance of all living things. And if the demon race attacks the human race, according to the peace agreement signed at the beginning, we will unite with the human race to fight against the demon race. In that case, do you still want to go to war? Oh, don't put on such a scary expression. Ragnar's expression changed again. Since I've come to tell you this, it means that I'm not afraid of you beast race at all. Ragnar's words were very arrogant. When the beast emperor saw that its deterrence had no effect, it sat back down on its stone chair. No one knew what it was thinking. If these words came from someone else's mouth, the beast emperor would definitely scoff at them. But since it came from Ragnar's mouth, it was most likely true. The beast emperor knew Ragnar very well. This guy was a complete lunatic. I'm here to tell you this because I don't want you to continue meddling in the grudges between our two races. But if you don't give me a proper reason, the beast race will still side with the human race. First, I'm almost at my limit. I might go berserk at any moment. Secondly, the human race has done a lot of sneaky things in the dark over the years, frequently harassing the borders of the demon race. Thirdly, I have a hunch that the human race is actually preparing to fight with us. If we don't take the initiative to attack, we will be the ones to suffer. As Ragnar spoke, he raised his fingers, 1, 3, continuously expressing his point of view. You can't hold on any longer? The beast emperor sighed emotionally. Yes, anytime. Ragnar and the beast emperor looked at each other at the same time. Their gazes overlapped, and they were each other's eyes. Finally, after a long time, sigh. The beast emperor sighed. Forget it. Xion, what do you think? Why are you suddenly asking me? This matter has nothing to do with me. Since Ragnar let you hear about this matter, he must think that you will be of great help to him. Xion thought for a moment. How should I say this? I think that Ragnar's hunch is most likely true. What do you mean? Brother Tortoise, no, Brother Beast Emperor, think about it. Back then, I was chased by the human race's Saintess in Yongsheng. At that time, the human race and the demon race were in a fierce battle. Although Yongsheng wasn't too far away from the battlefront, and it was just a small village at that time, why would the human race send their precious forces to deal with me? Because of a small village. Am I right? You do have a point. But the Beast Emperor glanced at Xiong, and another wind blade flew out. Xiong didn't have Ragnar's reflexes and adaptability, and was directly hit by the sudden wind blade. Next time, watch your mouth. Yes, yes, yes. I don't dare anymore. I don't dare anymore. Who would have thought that a dignified and noble fire dragon would be begging and fawning? My mouth is really asking for a beating. But Brother Tortoise is indeed not bad. Hee hee. All right, I didn't think of this. Xiong's words reminded Ragnar. Ragnar's right hand's middle finger was stuck on his chin, and his index finger was constantly swaying near his philtrum. Why would the Saintess abandon the battlefront and return to the rear to fight a small lizard? Who are you calling a small lizard? I also have dignity. Oh, sorry. Slip of the tongue. It's really a slip of the tongue. Xiong raised his head high, and his nostrils were wide open. He looked down at Ragnar with a very arrogant and proud expression. Humph. You can't think of it, right? I know why. If you beg me, I will tell you. You. Looking at Xiong's arrogant face, Ragnar instantly felt that he was being looked down upon. Is it you who is arrogant? Or is it me who can't raise my fist? Sigh. Looking at the two troublemakers in front of him, the Beast Emperor's face was full of black lines. You two, that's enough. Xiong, hurry up and tell me. Oh, I know. Ambition took a deep breath. What happened just now had really given it a fright. In fact, I actually accidentally found out a secret of the human emperor, and then I was hunted down. That secret has to be told on a dark and windy night. Ragnar guessed that this story would not stop for a while. 1, 3, 1, 5, 1 Jack, 2, Little King, crushed to death. The plot returned to Reef-Island. It was now the third night, but Liliana was frightened by Adong's gaze and did not know why she felt a little uneasy. Helpless, Avina could only play games with Liliana to divert her attention. A game that was suitable for 3 people, and the difficulty was stuck in the range that Liliana's IQ could accept. This was really a little difficult. Chapter 683. After thinking for a long time, the 3 girls finally chose a card game that was very challenging. Of course, this couldn't be a simple card game. There was a rule that said you can use magic in the rules. In other words, you can use magic as much as you want without being discovered. The loser would be punished by truth or dare. I still have 2 4s, a K, and a trombone. As long as I can use this K, I will definitely win. Liliana was looking at the 4 cards in her hand, looking for a way to defeat her opponent in one move. Landlord, hurry up. I've been waiting for so long. AI Wayna urged from the side. No, don't. In this game, Liliana was the landlord who was besieged. The order of the cards was from Liliana to Avina, and then to Avina. I've been tricked. What a good AI, Wayna. She actually disrupted my train of thought and forced me to play my cards. I miscalculated. Avina, I'll use 3 4s to suppress you. Avina gave Avina a look. Don't worry, I won't hit you. Avina nodded in response. What to do? Should I not use it, or should I use a trombone? Liliana looked at the cards in her hand. Her burning gaze almost penetrated the cards, but she still couldn't see anything. There's no other way. Come out, hexapod wings! Liliana shouted, and hexapod wings flashed out in front of her. Bang! Liliana pulled hexapod wings out of its sheath and stabbed it into the ground beside her. Hexapod wings was very bright and appeared silver-white. It could be used as a mirror. Liliana, you actually want to peek at my cards through the reflection of hexapod wings. According to the rules, the 3 parties couldn't move around casually. So Avina couldn't change her position even if she wanted to. I see it. Trombone. I'll crush you. Through the 6 wings, Liliana saw the cards in Avina's hands. Avina had a total of 5 cards in her hand, 3 8s and a pair of 4s. Humph, he's definitely going to win. It's not even as big as the one in my hand. The king in Liliana's hand fell to the ground. That's... The moment Liliana's hand landed, she actually saw a trace of a smile appear at the corner of Avina's mouth. Liliana, you're still too inexperienced. Liliana saw a piece of soil near Avina's feet move slightly. Then, a small piece of soil moved to another area, revealing a card. Avina, he was actually hiding his cards. When is it? Could it be? Liliana guessed that Avina must have hidden the sword when she pulled it out. Liliana took a closer look and realized that the mud was actually the corpses of ants and little bugs. Avina was currently sitting on Liliana's right side, looking as if nothing had happened. Without a doubt, Avina's undead magic was the handiwork of these small animals. You've been tricked. Avina picked up the card on the ground. An ace. It's bigger than yours. What? Liliana, I know that you only have 2 fours left in your hand. Give up 3 eights with a pair of 4s. But right at this moment, Liliana actually laughed. Ha ha! Avina, Liliana, I knew that you two would play this trick. Luckily, I was prepared. Liliana reached her hand into her clothes, as if she was going to do something indecent. But to her surprise, she pulled out another 2 from her underwear. 1 2, it's bigger than yours. Liliana, luckily, when my hand slipped just now, I didn't hold the card firmly, and the card slid down my sleeve into my clothes. Let's end it like this. Liliana revealed a relieved expression, and that complacent and tired expression looked so blissful. It's over. Liliana weakly threw the pair of 4s in her hand to the ground, as if this game had exhausted all her stamina. Wait a minute, Avina suddenly said. Truth or dare? Ah, don't joke around. Do I look like the kind of person who keeps promises? Truth or dare? Ha ha ha. How can friends make a bet? It's too hurtful. Truth or dare? Avina, spare me. I don't want to tell the truth, nor do I want to dare. Avina often saw other children play truth or dare when she was young, but none of them had a good ending. They either asked the person they liked or did something slightly immoral. There was no novelty at all. It was boring and cruel. The point is, I don't want to do any of them. After playing for so long, I feel a little hungry. Let's find something to eat. Yes. Liliana took out a relatively large backpack from the black disc, which was specially prepared for them by Yuhua to store food and water. Avina deliberately turned her back to Avina to look for snacks in the backpack. But no matter what, Avina could clearly feel Avina's cold gaze on her. Avina, hurry up and eat. We still have to accept responsibility after eating. Avina replied, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. I remember there should be pig trotters in here. Avina opened the zipper on the backpack, then reached in with her right hand and rummaged around. Pig trotters, pig trotters. Suddenly, Avina felt that she seemed to have touched something strange. It felt fluffy, and it was something full of hair. It felt chubby and a little warm. She should have touched it before. What is this? Avina pulled the thing out. A white and fat thing appeared in front of her, just like that. Avina held it by the fur on its back and suspended it in midair. Its 2 small front paws were holding a big and hard carrot and stuffing it into its mouth, making kacha-kacha sounds. Abai, Avina suddenly said in surprise. I haven't seen you in a long time. AI Wena's eyes turned as if she had seen a life-saving straw. She hugged Abai tightly in her arms with a puffed sound. Kacha, Kacha, let go of me. I can't eat anymore, Abai said in a very coquettish voice. Abai. Avina and Liliana also saw Abai in Avina's arms and came over. Abai, why are you here? Chapter 684. When Abai thought of the reason it was here, it could not help but spit out the tasteless carrot crumbs in its mouth along with its saliva. Bah, it's all that idiot Reynolds' fault. I was fishing for rich guys on the roadside of the city, but he forced me into this backpack and forced me to come with you. Oh, so that's how it is. Avina's eyes rolled as she deliberately used an attractive and pretentious tone to speak. Abai, where did the carrot in your mouth come from? Immediately after, Avina seemed to have thought of something and pretended to be very surprised. Don't tell me it's from the backpack. Avina. Abai understood that Avina wanted to change the topic and divert all the attention to the fact that it had secretly eaten their food. Hee, Avina, don't change the topic. Don't you still have truth or dare? How did you know? Although I was put into the black hole together with this backpack by Liliana, I can hear very clearly what's happening outside. Abai's eyes suddenly became sharp. Avina, did you lose a game just now? You don't want to accept the punishment after losing? Abai pushed its legs and squeezed out of Avina's arms, jumping into Avina's arms with a whoosh. Puffed. Avina caught Abai. Nah, Avina, Liliana, leave Avina's punishment to me. How about it? Okay. Avina and Liliana nodded. After a lot of bargaining, Avina's punishment was set to be carried out after the 7 schools jump. The wind at night was still quite cold. The trees in the 3rd ring were very dense, and there was almost no open space to find. The trees were the habitat of many weak beasts, so Avina and the others did not cut down the trees one by one to create an open space to set up a tent. Now, they were faced with a very serious problem. If the tent could not be set up, that meant that the 3 girls had no place to stay at all tonight. Got it. After dozens of minutes of searching, Liliana finally found a tree hole somewhere in the 3rd ring. Looking at the size, the tree hole was big enough to accommodate Avina and the others. But why is there a tree hole here? Could it be some kind of trap? Avina said slowly. Could there be enemies? AI Wayna didn't say anything. She summoned her 6 divine wings and placed them on her chest. She was on guard against any sneak attacks from the other contestants. At that moment, Liliana had already crawled into the tree hole. I think this should be a bear hole. Liliana. Hole? Look. Liliana crouched down and pointed at something on the ground. That is. Avina saw that there was something similar to a bird's nest made of withered branches under Liliana's feet. Inside was a light brown bear. The bear was very small, not even as big as Avina's face. Hey, are you saying my face is big? Idiot. Its black little nose looked very intelligent, and its 2 big, watery eyes instantly attracted Avina and Liliana's maiden hearts. So cute. The bear looked up at the sky, not afraid of these 3 species that it had never seen before. It laughed foolishly and kept waving its 2 chubby bear claws at Avina. So cute. Avina had the urge to pick up the bear. However, her rationality told her that she couldn't do that. If the bear's parents came back and saw Avina bullying their child, wouldn't that be troublesome? Liliana raised her head and sized up the tree hole. She discovered that this place was actually quite clean and wasn't as dirty as the rumors said. It's a bit strange, Liliana suddenly said. Look, the leaves on the ground are already thick enough. It is very possible that no one has come to this tree hole for a few days already. Avina examined the tree hole. Indeed, it was as Laris said, there weren't any bare footprints in the surroundings. Could it be that Xiao Xiong's parents were also by that scientist? Liliana didn't say it very clearly, but everyone understood the meaning behind her words. This isn't impossible. The 3 women took a look at the bear beside their feet. Right now, their eyes already revealed some pity. It probably hasn't eaten for a long time. Judging from the bear's body size, Avina felt that this bear should have just been born. Some of its body movements were still a bit stiff. Liliana broke off a small branch from the big tree outside, then dipped the branch into the honey jar that she just took out from her backpack. No. Liliana passed the honey-dipped branch to the bear. Wah. Seeing the honey, the bear's eyes instantly lit up. Poochie. The bear clumsily shook its body and crawled towards Liliana. Wah. Along the way, the bear even tripped a little. However, it immediately stood up again and continued to run towards the honey in its eyes. Hoo. Looking at the bear's satisfied expression, Liliana felt that it was enough. Right now, Avina also looked at each other at the same time. Previously, the 2 of them were afraid that Liliana wouldn't be able to integrate into this small group, so they specially found many activities to improve their relationship. The card game that they played just now also had a slight relationship with this layer of relationship. How should they say it? Looking at Liliana's slightly immersed expression, everything that they did was worth it. It was quite gratifying. Just like that, it was the fourth day of the 7 schools jump event. Counting with one's fingers, today should be a very busy day. Not only did they have to continuously rush and strive to reach the second ring area before evening, they also had to guard against other teams' sneak attacks. Avina had the ability to see through heterochromatic pupils, so she was in charge of detecting dangerous things. Avina's 6 wings were quite powerful, and she could be a general who opened up a path. Liliana's ability to adapt to changes was very strong, and she was in charge of the command position for this operation. Early in the morning, when the sky was still slightly bright, no, today was a cloudy day, and there was no sunlight. Her long and curved eyelashes slowly opened, and Liliana woke up from her sleep. Chapter 685. Liliana discovered that this cute little thing was currently staring at her with its big, watery eyes, tilting its head, and looking very cute. "Morning," Liliana said softly. "Why?" Little Bear also seemed to understand what Liliana said and cried out. Its voice was also very cute, causing one's heart to melt for a moment. Liliana slowly stood up and placed the blanket that was covering her body back into the black round plate. Immediately after, she stretched out her arms to both sides and used her body to form the word big. It seemed that she had slept very comfortably last night. Avina saw that Avina, who were beside her, had already woken up, and the two of them were currently standing outside the tree hole, not knowing what they were doing. "Yo, you woke up, little sleeping bug." Avina waved her hand and said jokingly. And, being called little sleeping bug by Avina, Liliana's face turned red, and she immediately said, "What are you two doing?" "I am thinking which is more delicious, rabbit meat or bear meat." Little Bear that crawled out from behind Liliana's body instantly trembled, and a few drops of transparent liquid actually dripped out from between its 2 hind legs. "Waha-ha! Ha-ha-ha-ha!" It actually pissed its pants. "Waha!" Avina wrapped her arms around her abdomen and tried her best to restrain her laughter, but she still couldn't stop it. "This is the first time I've seen a bear that pissed its pants. Ha-ha-ha." Even Liliana, who usually didn't like to laugh, also giggled at this moment. She was amused by Little Bear's comical appearance. "Avina," Avina said unhappily at the side. "Oh," Avina restrained herself a little, but occasionally there would still be laughter coming out from her mouth. "Sigh." Avina sighed. "Liliana, I found a place nearby, just now." Liliana frowned. She could feel that Avina's tone was a little serious. "You should be mentally prepared." Avina walked in a certain direction. "Come with me." Avina led Avina and Liliana to an open space not far away. The open space was quite small. It was surrounded by some tall trees, forming a circular area. In the center of the circle, there were some burnt branches. Under one of the trees, there was a bulging backpack. It was filled with a lot of meat food. "Look at this." Liliana looked in the direction Avina was pointing at and saw a headless corpse lying beside a tree branch. The wound on the neck was very smooth, and the blood on the ground had already seeped into the soil. Occasionally, 1 or 2 drops of blood would drip to the ground, making pong-pong-pong sounds. What was even more strange was that there were 2 human heads beside the headless corpse. Though Avina was disgusted and didn't want to touch the 2 heads, she still picked up a long branch on the ground and adjusted the 2 heads so that they were facing the sky. "Avina and I know the owners of these 2 heads." Avina paused for a while before continuing. "One of them is called Guo Peng, and the other is called Wang Sha. They're Ragnar's lackeys." "What?" Ragnar's name instantly attracted Liliana's attention. This person had harassed Avina more than once. What was more infuriating was that Ragnar had used an unknown pill to kill the goblin tribe leader, causing them to almost be framed as murderers. Since Ragnar's lackeys' corpses are here, then he himself. "I've searched, but I didn't find Ragnar's corpse." Avina shook her head. Liliana looked at the 2 heads again. After a while, Liliana finally found that the two heads had a common characteristic, and that was that the cut of their wounds was very smooth. Their necks should have been cut off by something very sharp in an instant. Liliana paid special attention to the expressions of the two heads. One of the heads, which was as fat as a pig, had a very wretched expression. Its nostrils were wide open, its tongue was hanging out of its mouth, and its eyes were filled with a strong sense of lust. What's going on? This person seemed to have seen something that could arouse his lust before he died, and that thing could kill him before he could react. Liliana's brief analysis made Avina and Avina feel a chill down their spines. To be able to kill a person before he could react, how terrifying must one's strength be to do that? I'm afraid that even magicians shouldn't be able to do that. There was also a skinny human head, which was also very ugly. This face had already revealed a look of fear, and its eyeballs were about to pop out. It was as if it was saying something to save its life, but unfortunately, it still died. After that, Avina, and Liliana looked around to see if there was anything left behind. Sure enough, not far away, there was a fat, headless corpse whose stomach was pierced by a newly grown sapling. Some of the body's organs were exposed to the air, emitting a foul smell. Liliana secretly compared in her mind and felt that this headless corpse should be the head with the perplexed expression. It seemed that this person should have been standing on a tree at that time, but he was attacked. His head was thrown to the open space, and his body fell down along the tree. His huge body was pierced by a branch. This was Liliana's hypothesis about the scene in front of her eyes. From the degree of rigidity of the body and the foul smell emitted by the corpse, Liliana preliminarily concluded that these two people should have been dead for at least a day. A day ago, could it be? A figure suddenly flashed in Liliana's mind. It was the face of their dearest teacher, Reynolds. In Liliana's impression, the only person who could kill someone in microseconds was Teacher Reynolds. Thinking of this, Liliana couldn't help but think of Sister Gio. If Sister Gio is a demon, then is her brother, Teacher Reynolds, also a demon? Also, Ragnar seems to have a bit of a grudge with Teacher Reynolds. Chapter 686. Just as Liliana was engrossed in her thoughts, Avina, who was in the open space, suddenly shouted to her, "Liliana, let's go. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to reach the second ring before dark." Oh, just as the three women were about to continue moving, Little Bear, who had been following behind them, suddenly cried out, "Little Bear?" Liliana noticed that the chubby Little Bear had taken out a scroll from a bush with great effort, and then brought it to Liliana with its mouth. "Wah wah. Oh, you're a bear. You're not a dog." Avina praised at the side. Liliana took the scroll from Little Bear and opened it. She discovered that the scroll recorded a series of crimes committed by the Vassallet family and their affiliated families. Every single one of the crimes committed by the Vassallet family would cause controversy in the society. Abusing the commoners in the slums, raping women, illegal transactions. Seeing this, the three women didn't feel any pity for the two men's deaths. I didn't expect the Vassallet family to do such despicable things. It's true, when they were young, Natalia and Liliana had met the patriarch of the Vassallet family. They originally thought that he was quite amiable, but they didn't expect him to do such things. Then what about Little Bear? Natalia asked a more crucial question. She could tell that Liliana actually liked Little Bear very much. "Our next operation is too dangerous. We can't bring Little Bear with us." To Natalia's surprise, Liliana actually made such a judgment at this time. She thought that Liliana would ask to bring Little Bear with her. Besides, if we take Little Bear away like this, its parents will definitely be very anxious. As she spoke, Liliana squatted down and stretched out her jade-like right hand to touch Little Bear's head. Little Bear also seemed to be very reluctant to let Liliana leave, and it also cried out with a slightly hoarse voice. Be good, be good. We have something to deal with now. When we're done, we'll come and play with you." Wow! Little Bear seemed to understand Liliana's meaning and stopped pleading. After sending Little Bear back to the tree hole, Natalia and the rest embarked on their journey to the second ring. To be honest, this cloudy day is really strange. It's cloudy and looks like it's going to rain at any moment. However, regardless of the weather, Natalia and the others had no choice but to continue forward. Along the way, they encountered some minor troubles, but they were all resolved with the help of Leona's ability to see through. Last time, the three of them encountered an extremely rare wisteria king in the third ring. This wisteria king was a very powerful and carnivorous plant. It was abnormally beautiful, and its willow petals were as mesmerizing as wisteria waterfalls. Moreover, its stamen had a little fluorescent substance that could attract some small animals that were attracted to the light, allowing it to prey on them. It was a cloudy day on Reef Island. Strangely enough, the hurricane in the air was unusually fierce, and the temperature had dropped to near zero. According to Nawab, even on a place like Reef Island, this kind of gloomy weather was extremely rare. The strong wind caused the Wisteria King's branches to sway greatly, but the Wisteria King was extremely happy about this. Its long and dense branches actually had a very strong anesthetic effect. Its beautiful petals attracted other creatures, and when they weren't paying attention, the Wisteria King would use its branches to paralyze them and turn them into nutrients for the soil. Just based on Natalia's carelessness, she would pounce and run forward as soon as she saw the Wisteria King. Fortunately, Liliana saw through the peculiarity. Otherwise, Natalia would probably be trapped in the Wisteria King's roots right now. It was said that if a mage fell into the Wisteria King's trap, it was very likely that they would lose their lives. Seriously, what's wrong with the organizers of this 7-school competition? They didn't even say anything about the Wisteria King and that scientist. Why didn't they scout out the place beforehand? Liliana thought for a moment. I'm just saying what if the organizers did it on purpose? Liliana's hypothesis caused both of them to stare blankly. If that's really the case, then it's too scary. Right at this moment, an ice arrow suddenly shot towards Natalia from the right. Its speed was so fast that Liliana didn't even have time to react. The ice arrow had already rushed to the front of Natalia. Bang! Natalia subconsciously leaned her body to the side and barely dodged the ice arrow, but a small wound still appeared on her knee. Who is it? Natalia was stunned to discover that the ice arrow's aura had already covered her wound with a thin layer of ice. It even helped to stop the blood from flowing out. This attack, Natalia looked at the ice arrow stuck in the ground. Ice magic. Brilliant dragon's howl. Over there, Natalia. Liliana instantly activated her heterochromatic pupils and saw two figures hiding behind a large tree to the right through the flow of magic particles. Ha! Natalia slashed towards the large tree to the right. The sharp Ragnar directly chopped the large tree in half, and the two figures appeared in her field of vision. Not bad, Natalia, but you're still a little lacking compared to us. The two figures walked in front of Natalia and the others. They were two girls, and what was surprising was that the two of them actually had the same face. The only difference was that their hairstyles were slightly different. One of them was a girl with long pink hair. She looked very gentle and quiet, and her slender fingers made people jealous. Standing beside her was a girl with two ponytails. She also had pink hair, and her standing posture didn't look very restrained. From her words and actions, one could feel that she had a mischievous personality. May Avina, may mirrors sound. Natalia couldn't help but clench her teeth when she saw the faces of the two. This is troublesome. The one with long hair was called May Avina, and the one with two ponytails was May Mirrors Sound. They were twins. May Avina was the older sister. She was a contestant from Brilliant Dragon's Howl Magic Academy, and was also one of the favorites to win the championship. Speaking of which, the twins were actually quite familiar with Natalia and Liliana. The 3000 family and the Wuyue family were old friends, and a relationship between the two families was quite good, so the four of them often met. Chapter 687. Every time they met, there would be a lot of conflict. Natalia didn't like May Leona, But at the same time, May Leona wanted to tease Natalia, and she succeeded every time. Natalia didn't have a good impression of May Leona. Leona and May Avina's relationship wasn't bad, but that was only on the level of not bad. May Avina always had a very warm smile on her face, and she treated people well. Her magic power was also first class, but Leona knew her very well. May Avina was a complete black-bellied person, the type that was black-bellied to the bone, even blacker than a crow. If she caught something she liked, she would take it by hook or by crook. Therefore, Liliana purposely kept a distance from May Avina. Leona, long time no see. May Avina tilted her head slightly and said with a smile, "Ugh, this smile again. A long time no see." Leona replied politely, "Are you crazy? May Leona, that move just now could have killed someone. I don't mind it so much. I only realized that I went a little overboard after I attacked, but I can't take it back. But at least you're not injured. We have such a good relationship, you won't mind, right?" May Leona ran to Natalia's side and elbowed Natalia. "Who has a good relationship with you? Stay away from me." Natalia really couldn't do anything about May Leona. How should she put it? She was really like a child. "Then why are you looking for us this time?" Leona didn't beat around the bush and directly asked the most basic question. "Hee, can't we come and play with you if we don't have anything to do?" "Avina, we have very important things to do now. If it's because of the competition between the 7 schools, I hope we can meet at the Sacred Sword Dance Festival," Leona said very seriously and didn't seem to be joking at all. "Hee, what a coincidence. That's what Liliana and I thought as well." Avina stroked Liliana's head and continued, "Actually, we're here to ask if you've seen one of our juniors. He has black hair and is quite short." Right. I almost forgot. Have you seen my little brother before?" Liliana bared her fangs and brandished her claws. "Little brother?" Hee, Natalia said in a despicable tone. "Could she be your little lover?" Poo. He really is one of my little brothers. Really. As Liliana explained, she used her self-created windmill punch. Although it didn't hurt, it had the effect of drawing aggro. Liliana and Avina didn't care about the 2 clowns. "Avina, can you tell us the details?" "Actually, another member of our team got separated from us yesterday." Avina organized her words and continued. "The fog yesterday was very thick. We originally wanted to find a stronghold to temporarily hide from the limelight. But we didn't expect that the junior who went out to scout hasn't returned yet." "Missing again?" Liliana and Liliana looked at each other and immediately thought of something. "Which direction did your junior brother go missing in?" "There." Avina pointed a finger in the direction Natalia and the others had come from. "As expected. If it's about this matter, we might have some clues." Liliana walked over. "Aya, is this Miss Liliana? You're really as beautiful as the rumors say." Liliana's face turned red. This was the first time she heard a stranger praise her like this. "Then, what are the clues you know?" Avina said with a smile. Liliana nodded, indicating that Liliana could say it out. Although Liliana and Natalia didn't get along with the Wuyua twins, they still knew their characters. As a matter of fact, it was yesterday. In the next 10 minutes, Liliana told Avina about the scientists and the modified human, Adam. "I didn't expect such a thing to happen in the 7 schools competition this time." Avina said slowly, "Actually, something strange happened to us yesterday. Liliana and I are relatively talented in water magic. Every time we rest, we will cover the camp with threads that look like spider webs. But not long after Junior went missing, our threads broke almost at the same time. No matter how arrogant Natalia was, she never doubted the strength of the 2 sisters. After all, she and Liliana had suffered a lot when they were young. Natalia knew a thing or two about the threads that Avina had mentioned. Spiders could lock onto the enemy's position through the vibration of their webs. The 2 sisters also created a kind of magic based on this principle. They condensed water molecules formed by magic into threads that were hard to see with the naked eye, and then wrapped them around the target. If an enemy sneaked up on them, they could react in time. They cut off your water net in an instant. Natalia and Liliana felt a little incredulous. Under normal circumstances, the Wu US sisters would cover a wide area with their water net. It seems that the other party must be very fast. Listening to what you said just now, the person who broke our water net should be the odd dong with leopard legs you mentioned before. Avina clapped her hands. Although I've never heard of the modified human, but I believe you. Avina giggled. I've decided to follow you to find that scientist. Avina, just when Liliana wanted to say something, Natalia, who had just gotten rid of Liliana, pulled her and winked at her. Liliana tried her best to decipher the message that Natalia wanted to convey. Liliana, let them go. We just happen to be lacking thugs. Liliana replied to her. Natalia patted her chest. It's not that we can't bring you guys along, but you must listen to our orders. Also, if we can't find your junior, don't blame us. Chapter 688. Avina said with a grin, but looking at her narrowed eyes, she should be thinking about something else. Hey, sister, are you sure you want to go with them? If we really can't find Xiang, then we'll be scolded by the dean. Hey, I don't care. Who told you to bring that little toy of yours over? And Liliana squatted down and hugged her head with both hands, as if she was struggling with something in her heart. Finally, okay, I'll go too. It seemed that Liliana had won against her guilt. At this moment, Natalia didn't say anything and smashed a heavenly justice on her head. Woo, it hurts. What are you doing? Liliana covered her head with both hands where Natalia had just punched her. This is revenge for that arrow you shot. What are you doing? I was aiming at the little grass at your feet. You were the one who blindly moved and got hurt. How can you blame me for that? Bang! Another heavenly justice. This punch was the result of Natalia punishing Liliana for talking nonsense. What? You're making me sound stupid. I'm angry. Liliana wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and stood up. Come out, Ice Feather. In an instant, a fierce gust of wind blew in the air. Light blue fluorescent dots gradually appeared in the air like stars. The fluorescent dots gathered in a spiral shape in Liliana's palm, and a glittering and translucent ice bow, an arrow appeared in her hand. What, you want to fight? Natalia swung her right hand, and Ragnar appeared in her hand. Ragnar's whole body was gold and silver in color. The hilt and both sides of the sword body were gold and engraved with some dense patterns. The middle area of the sword body was silver and looked very cool. Ever since Natalia fought with the dark demon summoned by Geo, she had mastered the method of transferring with elemental magic particles into Ragnar. Natalia was shocked to discover that Ragnar, which was filled with magic particles, could turn dark green. She didn't notice it when she was fighting with the dark demon. Speaking of which, who was talking to me at that time? Natalia also had doubts about the voice that appeared in her mind during the battle. Occasionally, Natalia would try to communicate with the voice again, but so far, there was no effect at all. Natalia didn't mention this to Reynolds. Anyway, she could already imagine Reynolds' expression after he heard it. You idiot. Do you only know how to eat and sleep all day? Look at you now. Your brain is damaged from sleeping. Actually, Reynolds, seems like you would really say that. When did you get that toy? Let me see. As soon as she saw the golden Ragnar in Natalia's hand, Liliana suddenly lost the will to fight, as if she had forgotten what had just happened. She ran to Natalia, then squatted down and reached out to touch Ragnar. But just as Liliana's hand was about to touch Ragnar, Ragnar suddenly burst out with a dazzling golden light, and then Liliana felt as if she had been flicked in the head by something. She instantly lost her balance and sat down on the mud. This has nothing to do with me. Ragnar did it by itself. It has nothing to do with me. Seeing Liliana sitting on the ground, Natalia instantly waved her hand to show that she was innocent. Woo-woo. Natalia thought that she had made Liliana cry and immediately squatted down to comfort her. Woo-wah, woo-wah. The next moment, Natalia inadvertently saw a trace of an evil smile hanging on the corner of Liliana's mouth. Not good, I've been tricked. Just as Natalia realized that something was wrong, she immediately wanted to jump back. Too late. Liliana's right hand, which was pressed tightly against the mud, dug with all her might, grabbed the wet mud, and then flung it fiercely. Ha! The mud directly hit Natalia's face at a 90-degree angle with the greatest force. The moment the mud touched Natalia's face, it split into countless small mud dots and flew backward. Several mud dots encountered Natalia's golden hair in the process of flying and dyed it khaki. Ah! Liliana, I'm going to kill you. After meeting the two sisters Mayavina and May Liliana by chance, the two of them also joined Natalia's scientist transformation plan. If I were to count 1 woman, 2 women, 3 women, it's really 5 beauties gathered together. How should I put it? In fact, this kind of phenomenon was relatively common. Women had a unique advantage in the perception and application of magic power. Otherwise, it could be said that women were meticulous and clever. To a large extent, this was the reason why women were said to be meticulous and dexterous. As for men, it was said that men were created from the leftover dregs when God created humans. Therefore, some of the more physically demanding jobs were done by men. As for the occasional appearance of magic geniuses like Ragnar, it was purely due to luck. There would always be some dregs who would be lucky enough to be photographed in a better place. Without saying much, the original 3-man team was expanded to a 5-man team in just a short time. Mayavina, female, 17 years old, the eldest daughter of the Wuyue family. Magic adaptability, a rank height, 169 meters, proficient in water magic. One of the representatives of brilliant Dragon Magic Academy. She was the team leader of the team. She had pink long straight hair and was in charge of all the plans for the 7 Schools Leap event. Mei Lingyin, female, 17 years old, the second daughter of the Wuyue family. She and Mayavina were twins. It was said that when she delivered the baby, Mayavina's little toe stretched out from her mother's womb first. So Mayavina became the eldest sister. Magic adaptability, B+ rank, proficient in water magic, ice magic. One of the representatives of brilliant Dragon Magic Academy. She was in charge of long-range attacks in the team. After discussing the specific route, the 5 women were in a hurry to get on with their journey. After all, there were still 2.5 days until the end of the 7 Schools Leap event. If it didn't speed up, it might really be too late. Chapter 689. Soon, the 5 women arrived at the side of the second ring-shaped river on the reef island. As long as they crossed the river in front of them, they would enter the second ring of the reef island. What the hell? Why is the river in the second ring so much wider than the one in the third ring? Just as Natalia said, this river was twice as wide and deep as the one in the third ring. It was still cold and windy. Compared to before, the current whistling wind seemed to have expanded a lot. Wherever the wind passed through, it would set off up undulating waves. It was like the surface of the sea in a stormy weather. All the water would be a ferryman's nightmare. How do we cross? Natalia asked doubtfully. Of course we cross like this. After saying that, Liliana summoned her weapon, Ice Father. Liliana held the Ice Father in her left hand and raised it in front of her eyes. Her right hand pulled the faintly discernible ice string in the air and then pulled it fully. Then, a light blue ice crystal arrow appeared on the Ice Father. The cold of the sky, the water is ice, thousands of miles of ice. Under the warm sun, bones and hearts, my arrow breaks 10,000 laws. 10,000 miles of ice. After chanting the incantation, a huge wave of cold air slowly converged at the tip of the ice arrow. The surrounding temperature instantly dropped a lot, and the tip of the arrow emitted a crystal blue light. Go! Liliana released her right thumb, index finger, and middle finger. With a whoosh, the ice arrow shot towards the second ring of the river with the momentum of breaking through the wind. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The ice arrow hit the surging waves of the water. When the ice arrow came into contact with the water, a crackling sound came from there, and it became more and more concentrated. Natalia saw the water surface slowly freeze, and the ice layer spread very quickly. In the blink of an eye, a rectangular ice surface about 10 meters wide was formed in front of the 5 women. "Let's go," Liliana said with a proud face. Gee. Although Natalia was very dissatisfied with Liliana's limelight, she still had to follow. When he stepped on the icy surface, the first thing he heard was a sudden cracking sound. Are you sure that this ice surface can withstand the weight of the 5 of us? Natalia, don't you know that your weight counts as 1.5? Courting death. I'm just joking. Don't take it so seriously. Liliana waved her hand in amusement and continued. As long as nothing unexpected happens, the 5 of us should be more than enough. The wind and waves on the surface of the water were so strong that the roaring waves slapped fiercely on the ice. It was as if a lion was stepping on an elk, and it felt like the ice would shatter at any time. Just as the 5 women were halfway to the ice surface, a fireball rushed towards them from the opposite shore. Dodge! At this time, their attention was completely focused, and even the slightest movement could attract their attention. It was just a fireball, so dodging it was still relatively easy. Pooh! The 5 girls looked at each other and nodded. They immediately jumped up, and the originally dense formation was instantly disrupted. Not good. Someone is guarding the river. Guarding the river. This was a battle strategy. It was the same as the battle strategy of guarding the bridge in a certain game. Set up traps in places where some people would definitely pass by. Set up an ambush, and when some people pass by, suddenly appear and sneak attack them when they are unprepared, using this to achieve the effect of eliminating the opponent. Quickly find a cover, Avina shouted. The 5 women respectively hid behind the frozen waves that were closest to them. Bang! Bang! Another 2 fireballs rushed over and directly smashed onto the frozen waves. Humph! Humph! My ceiling 10,000 miles is not something that can be broken by these few small fireballs. Natalia activated her heterochromatic pupils and looked towards the shore. She discovered that there were currently 3 people standing behind a few trees on the opposite shore. Among them, 2 of them were responsible for throwing fireballs, and the last one was actually lying on a rocking chair and drinking a drink that was prepared in advance. He looked carefree and at ease. Fire annihilation sky. Aya. Seemingly hearing Natalia's voice, the person who was lying on the ground stood up shakily. Aya, look at who this is. I thought it was some rotten worm or shrimp that took the bait. I didn't expect that it isn't the famous Sun Ming Shu Magic Academy and Bright Dragon Tian Shao Magic Academy. That person's tone was very exaggerated and pretentious. I didn't expect that the 2 favorites for the championship would actually be squatted by our fire annihilation sky here. What should we do? Ragnar, are you going to have a decisive battle with us here? Avina said slowly. Her eyes were half squinted, but there was no trace of a joking feeling. Ragnar, male, Fire Annihilation Sky Magic Academy's representative team leader, Magic Adaptability C+, good at using fire attribute magic. How would I dare to go against you all? Our Fire Annihilation Sky strength is very inferior. Ragnar inserted his right hand's 5 fingers into his fluffy yellow hair. To be honest, I don't think that we could defeat you all here. We didn't know that you came over just now, so let's just let it pass like this. Ragnar waved his hand and motioned for his 2 teammates to stop. Let's go over quickly. Natalia rushed over first, but just as she lifted her foot, another fireball rushed over. Moreover, this fireball was more powerful than the previous one, and its speed was more than twice as fast. Bang! The fireball exploded at Natalia's feet. Fortunately, Natalia's reaction was still relatively fast, and she dodged the fireball at the critical moment. Hey, what are you doing? Natalia's anger directly rushed to her head. Sorry, my hand slipped a little. Natalia, what's wrong with you? To actually believe what he said. Avina rebuked angrily. Didn't your coach say that the Fire Annihilation Sky Magic Academy's strength isn't strong, but in terms of scheming, they're definitely number 1. At this, he did say that. Before the start of the 7 schools competition, Ragnar had specially reminded Natalia of some information about the fire annihilation sky. It was said that they would do anything to win. In short, 8 or 9 out of 10 of the things they said couldn't be listened to. Avina and Liliana had once been tricked by them, and thus suffered a lot of losses. When Ragnar saw that Avina had foolishly believed his nonsense, he suddenly burst into laughter. Even the other 2 teammates beside him also laughed at him. Chapter 690. Avina, who had barely dodged the fireball, seemed to be angered by the taunts. Her white face was flushed red with anger. Avina waved her right hand, and the gold and silver wings appeared in her hand. Avina, calm down. It's a trap. No matter how hard Hanako and Sakura tried to warn Avina, it was useless. Avina leaned to the side and stepped forward with her left foot. Her body's center of gravity shifted downwards. Avina placed the wings on the right side of her pelvis. Then, she exerted force in her legs, and 2 white magic formations appeared under her feet. The magic formations burst out with a strong wind, forming a thrust that sent Avina forward. Wings of heaven. As Avina uttered these 3 words, a pair of pure white wings spread out from her back. Every feather constantly adjusted its angle to help her glide forward. Avina was flying towards the 3 people from Campfire Celestial Magic Academy at a very fast speed. Oh, I'm so scared. Seeing Avina rushing towards him, Ragnar was not afraid at all. Instead, he taunted her even more. Go to hell. A few seconds later, Avina had already reached the land of the second circle. Bang! Another fireball carrying a violent wave rushed towards Avina. Whoosh! Avina leaned to the side and used the inertia to spin 360 degrees in the air, dodging the fireball's attack. At the same time, the white magic formation's thrust was exhausted. When Avina landed on the ground, the muscles in her legs contracted in an instant. Her whole body was squeezed to the limit. She flapped her wings and slashed towards Ragnar's neck. Ragnar's lips curled into a strange, evil smile again. Not good. Hanako saw through her heterochromatic eyes that there was something wrong with the fireball that Avina had just dodged. Avina, be careful. It's a trap. Huakai shouted, but it was already too late. Just as Avina's 6 wings were about to hit Ragnar, Ragnar turned his finger, and the fireball that had just been dodged by Avina turned back in the air. Bang! The fireball exploded on Avina's back. A tearing pain came from her back. For a moment, Avina lost her balance. The 6 wings that were originally attacking drew a serpentine arc in the air, leaving a small wound on Ragnar's face. My handsome face. Bitch, I'm going to kill you. Ragnar touched his face and found a scratch about the length of a finger. His originally calm face instantly became unnatural, and his facial features became extremely ferocious. It seemed that Avina had accidentally touched the place he was most concerned about. Between the heavens and the earth, the flame demon descends into the world. Endless years wander about the crowds coming and going. The burning flames illuminate all things. Suddenly, a frightening demon whispers, "Transform me into the evil god of massacre, and use my flames to purify your sins." World-splitting fireball. Ragnar's incantation was getting faster and faster, and it ended just as Avina was hit by the fireball and fell to the ground. A reddish-yellow fireball wrapped in black streamers appeared in front of Ragnar. The fireball constantly absorbed a large number of fire magic particles from the 2 team members beside Ragnar and grew bigger and bigger. The wind helped the fire, and with the silent help of the evil wind, the fireball once again expanded to its peak, and the 5-meter-big world-splitting fireball was finally released. Haha, go to hell. Lamy Avina of the Sun Mengshu Magic Academy. This is the result of scratching my handsome face. Just as Avina was about to get up and dodge, some cracking sounds came from her shoulder blades. It seemed that a few of the bones in her back had broken, and some of the bone tips had even pierced into her internal organs. A large mouthful of blood spurted out from her throat. This was the first time Avina tasted her own blood in this way. This feeling was really a little uncomfortable. Avina's consciousness told her that she must dodge the attack of the world's splitting fireball, but the great pain coming from inside her body again and again prevented her from moving. Not good, I can't dodge it. Avina was already holding the little red flag on her belt in her hand. As long as she used a little strength and broke the little red flag issued by the 7 schools leap movement, the teleportation magic would be activated and send Avina back to the Gaia competition hall in the city. I'm a little unwilling. Avina gritted her teeth and was about to break the little red flag in her hand. Suddenly, a large wave rolled up from the shore and hit the world's splitting fireball. With a whoosh, the heated wave instantly turned into a hazy mist and filled the surroundings. The momentum of the world splitting fireball, which was originally rushing towards Avina, decreased a lot. It was like a magic train that had its engine turned off and could only rely on inertia to move forward. But even so, the power of the world's splitting fireball was still not to be underestimated. When she finally reacted, Avina's body seemed to be blocked by something, and a shadow cast on her body. Avina raised her head and discovered that there was a huge black creature on her body. What the hell? Avina's expression changed subconsciously. Isn't this the big spider that we met in the forest? But thinking about it, this thing's corpse seems to be controlled by Lilith. Avina also changed inside. You scared me. The big spider raised its forelimbs and slapped the world splitting fireball, forcibly changing its trajectory and smashing it into a big tree at the side. It's useless. You can't save her, ha ha ha. Ragnar covered his face with his palm, trying his best to suppress his laughter. The power of the world splitting fireball was so great that it directly smashed several 100-year-old trees in the second ring. Finally, it seemed to have reached its limit and suddenly shrank by one size. Not good. The fireball is going to explode. In the next second, the world's splitting fireball shrank by 1 meter again. Buzz! A sound that made one's heart tremble was emitted from the fireball. But just as the fireball was about to explode, Avina seemed to see a light blue reflective thing scurrying past her eyes. Ice feather strike! Avina shouted. When Avina turned her head, she discovered that it was an ice arrow that was shot over. However, this ice arrow was somewhat different from the ice arrow that Avina shot out before. Its entire body was covered with sharp ice thorns, and the tip of the arrow was like a blooming rose. Under the weak sunlight, it appeared to be dazzling and had a different color. Chapter 691. With a bang, the ice rose arrow pierced through the middle of the great world splitting fireball and stopped inside. Following Avina's shout, the ice rose gradually melted and quickly wrapped around the world splitter fireball at a speed visible to the naked eye. In almost a blink of an eye, the world splitter fireball was frozen into a fist-sized ball. People who didn't know might think that it was a toy. Impossible, how can it be? How can my great fireball be broken? When Ragnar saw that his unique skill was broken, he was so scared that his legs went soft and he collapsed to the ground. Run! Run! Seeing that the situation was not good, Ragnar immediately blurted out his subconscious reaction in a trembling voice. But when he looked back, Ragnar found that the other 2 members of his team had already run far away. Hey, wait for me! Just when Ragnar wanted to chase after them, suddenly several strong murderous intents came from behind, one of which was particularly strong. Ragnar was a little embarrassed to say what he was going to say next. I'll tell you a secret, and the price is to let me go. How about it? Ragnar stiffly turned his head back. He seemed to see the answer on their faces that he had long guessed. Can you not hit my face? This was probably the last bit of stubbornness that Ragnar had as a man. Apart from the time they had to travel, that meant that they still had about a day to deal with the scientist and the terrible Dong. The task was very difficult. After reaching the second ring area, there were very few creatures that could be seen. Before, in the third and fourth ring areas, they could often see creatures that could fly and run, but in the second ring area, there were very few of them left. The 5 women walked forward for a few kilometers, and suddenly there was a rustling sound from the bushes not far ahead. Everyone instantly entered a state of combat readiness, each of them releasing their weapons and magic in advance, and immediately launched an attack at the slightest sign of movement. The surroundings were very quiet, so quiet that they could hear each other's breathing. It's coming. Along with Liliana's reminder, a tiger's roar echoed around them. A 2-meter-long tiger jumped out from the bushes in front of him. It was not like an ordinary tiger that had black and yellow fur. Instead, it had lush white fur with a domineering black pattern. Its eyes were also wide open. Its eyeballs were like red beans that had been magnified several times. It originally showed endless majesty, and the word king imprinted between its eyebrows made it even more arrogant under the contrast of its white fur. However, right now, the steps that it took when rushing over gave off a kind of light feeling, and there wasn't even a trace of hostility leaking out from it. Take this. Avina swung her sword at the charging tiger. Wait a moment. Before Liliana could finish speaking, Avina had already swung her 6 wings. At this moment, the black and white tiger in front of them suddenly stopped before the 6-winged immortal beast. Then it squatted down, and its 4 muscles instantly doubled in size. Then it jumped up. Not good. Avina was startled. She didn't expect that the tiger would actually do such a thing. The tiger leaped into the air and stepped on the back of the 6-winged immortal beast. Then, as if using the 6-winged immortal beast as a stepping board, the tiger directly jumped over Avina's head and landed 3 meters behind Avina. What? So formidable. The tiger's astonishing action disrupted the 5 women's understanding. They had never seen a tiger do such a thing before. Thus, Tizia turned around and was about to attack again when Zhang Heng suddenly stopped him. Avina, wait a moment. Liliana finally had the time to stop Avina. What's the matter, Liliana? Look, after the tiger landed on the ground, it could be seen that it turned around and lightly roared at Avina. Then it turned around and continued running. What's going on? Look, that tiger's right leg is injured. The women followed Liliana's direction and looked at the tiger that ran away. Indeed, there were some mottled bloodstains on the tiger's right leg. As for the wound, it couldn't be seen clearly. It should have been covered by the tiger's hair. To be able to make the king of all beasts feel fear, the women became silent. Seems like we have to reevaluate the strength of the tiger. The tiger with white hair is an existence that is 1 level higher than the tiger species. It is said that the tiger's intelligence is already comparable to that of an ordinary human. Furthermore, the tiger is also able to mobilize the wind, attribute magic particles in the air, and fuse the magic into its voice, creating a deterrent effect. The 5 women looked at each other for a while, and in the end, they decided to continue on their journey. After walking for another few hundred meters, they discovered that there weren't any dangerous things that happened along the way. There was one thing that was worth noting. When Avina was walking, she tripped on a tree root that was exposed outside of the soil. Of course, this wasn't any foreshadowing. The tree root was just an ordinary tree root. It was just that Avina was distracted. No matter how careless Avina was normally, she wouldn't make such a low-level mistake at this juncture. Seems like she was indeed thinking about something in her heart, causing her to be distracted. The area of the 3rd ring was obviously smaller than the area of the first 2 rings by more than a few times. Along the way, they could occasionally see traces left behind by some powerful creatures on the trees, in the soil, and other places. There were 3 very hideous claw marks on the trunk of a certain big tree, and the direction should be left behind by an attack from the top, right to the bottom left. They could already faintly hear the hua-hua sound of flowing water. It seemed like the 1st ring river was already not far away. Right now, the night had already fallen. What was even more frightening was that this chilly wind didn't have the slightest sign of weakening. Instead, it became even more rampant. Just like last time, the wind accidentally swept up some fine gravel and directly scratched Natalia's delicate cheek. It was Liliana who used magic to help her recover. It's almost time. Why don't we rest here for a night? Liliana looked around and said, "Right here." Elvina looked around. This was a small flat ground. It was hard to imagine that there would be such an open space in the second ring. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.